Downtown St. Louis, Missouri is the backdrop to one of the most intense oval races on the NTT Indycar Series calendar, and you see the cars roll here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. That's for some installation laps because there were no practice or qualifying sessions prior to today's race. The flavor of the weekend here is double header action, and yesterday's first leg really brought the action. Short oval racing, the first of two races this weekend for the Bommarito Automotive Group 500.
Green.
They're jumping out of line, there's a collision!
Blue jumped the start, hammered everybody.
Rossi just has to be beside himself.
I was driving straight. I don't know what you want me to say.
Pato O'Ward has led for 83 laps.
Oh! Rosenquist with a big slide, almost lost it.
Got ourselves up, okay.
Top two are in. Pato O'Ward, Scott Dixon.
And the battle will be on pit stops.
Can the Chip Ganassi Racing Group beat him? And they will!
He got him.
Dixon takes over control.
You are the leader, 34 laps to go. Box.
Sato comes to pit road.
Slow on the right rear.
Oh! Whoa!
Hold on, both of you.
Takuma Sato, that was awesome.
Good job, let's go get Dixon.
The chase is on by the man who says no attack, no chance. Scott Dixon is going to be the 11th different winner here from 11 races.
Oh, yeah.
Dixon is a 50-time IndyCar winner.
Well done, Scott. Yeah, thank you, guys and girls. That was awesome.
There was so much happening as we welcome you to IndyCar Live, presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance. And there'll be a whole lot more happening today as well as we welcome you to Worldwide Technology Raceway. Lee Diffie along with a couple of championship-winning drivers, Paul Tracy, Townsend Bell. T-Bell yesterday, we saw a little bit of everything. 6 cars coming to green, crash, 6 different leaders, and an awesome finish as we saw there between Takuma Sato and Scott Dixon. It was a great day to start this doubleheader weekend.
It was terrific. It was wild. It was fast, it was crazy. And think about this for a second. The reason you're gonna wanna watch today is because the 23 drivers all have this killer mentality right now, which is go for it. Takuma Sato, the current Indy 500 champion, told me yesterday, this is the scariest track we go to and the sketchiest first lap. Yesterday was just like that. Today, I think, is gonna be even wilder.
How about that chase, Paul, to the finish, to the checkered flag? Dixon under immense pressure from Sato.
Yeah, Dixon really played it cool in the beginning. He sat back in about third and just kind of made fuel mileage and moved to second. And then on the final pit stop, he was able to jump ahead of Pato O'Ward. But it wasn't easy sailing from then on. He came under tremendous pressure from Sato, who was really fired up after a slightly slow pit stop, which could have cost him the win. But today, he's on pole, so this could be a whole different story.
Yeah, yesterday was quite costly for a number of guys, including Takuma Sato's teammate, Graham Rahal. However, there is one thing that you must take notice of. That is Scott Dixon and his championship lead. 117 points over the defending champion, Joseph Newgarden. It has been Scott Dixon's year. He is well and truly in command. Let's hear what he has to say with Kevin Lee. Kev?
Well, Lee, it's no surprise that Scott Dixon is atop the standings. He's a 5-time champion. One more puts him within one of A.J. Foyt of the most ever. And we're used to winning you winning a lot of races, but 4 of 8 and this kind of a massive lead. The question is, what's different this year? How are you guys doing this?
I don't know. I think if we could bottle it, we would try and do it every year. Normally, we're the ones that are kind of coming from behind and trying to, have a strong finish to the season. It's definitely been an interesting year for so many people, but I think it's never one thing. It's a multiple of many. There's been a lot of talk of, the GT team was kind of consumed into the IndyCar team as well, especially on an engineering level. Plus the fact, I think, HPD and Honda have brought, the goods this year. You looked at that at Indianapolis. That was a total flip from what we'd seen years before. So I think performance has been definitely picked up. I think as a team, we're definitely covering a lot more of the bases and trying to learn from the mistakes that we've had over the last couple of years. And there has been some, and we kind of fell into that at Road America Race 2. You got to be careful. It's very easy to lose a ton of points. And yeah, we've got to keep our head down and I'd love to go into the last race and not really have to worry about even running. But that's probably never the case, especially in the IndyCar series.
Real quick, congrats on number 50 to get to 51 and 1 away from Mario for second. What has to happen today?
Yeah, definitely interesting. We start a little further back today in 6th. We'll have to monitor. I think today's conditions kind of play a little bit different. It's a lot hotter. At least track temp, ambient's probably about the same, but I think track temp's going to be different. We've had the truck race on with their rubber down, so there's a lot of different changes that we have to try and figure out. But I think the PNC Bank number 9 crew is going to be strong, and we can hopefully slip up another 5 slots.
Good luck, Scott.
And Scott continues his pursuit of AJ Foyt for the most IndyCar championships of all time. Dixon's parked there at 5. He could go to 6 and within 1 of AJ Foyt just in a couple of months' time. If you win 1 IndyCar race, that's a huge accomplishment. Our PT won 31 IndyCar races. However, Dixon has won 50 as of yesterday. What makes him so good?
Well, I think bottom line is his fitness level is at the top 1%, I would say, of any race driver worldwide. And when he becomes under pressure, it allows him to just stay calm and cool. He never makes mistakes. And the bottom line is he knows when to go and he knows when to hold tight.
So there's one thing to talk about, Townsend, about attacking. You also have to defend in this sport, and you have to keep your calm. Both of you guys race against Dixon. You know what he's like as a competitor. In your mind, what makes him good, and how did he... The Indy 500 champ. Oh, and by the way, he starts on the pole position today. This is a really special period in Takuma Sato's career. One for him to remember, and at the moment he is the pride not only of Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, but his home country of Japan. On September 10th, Patrick Mahomes and the Super Bowl champion Chiefs kick off the season by hosting Deshaun Watson and the Texans. Then on September 13th, Dak Prescott's Cowboys visit Aaron Donald and the Rams' new home on the season premiere of Sunday Night Football, only on NBC. As we welcome you back, countdown continues here to day 2 of competition on the doubleheader weekend. Who better to chat to now than Mr. Jay Fry, the president of the NTT IndyCar Series. Jay, thanks for your time. We had Mark Miles up here yesterday to give us kind of an update on the state of the series and the health of the series. Want to talk more competition with you. How good was it to get the Indy 500 done in 2020?
Yeah, well, it was great, Lee. Thanks for having me. Obviously, it was disappointing that the fans weren't there. We ran, I think, almost 12,000 laps in practice. Great race. Obviously, not the ending that we were looking for, where we ended the race under caution. We did everything we can, and we always do everything we can to end the race under green. Unfortunately for the event, the pace car picked up the leader at lap 197. And if you do the math, going backwards from lap 200, we just couldn't get it done. So we hated that, but overall it was a great day.
So the fans have asked, and we kind of these days we use social media kind of as a gauge, and a lot of it on social media was terrific race, glad we got the 500 done, but why didn't we finish under green? I think it's important for you to tell the fans you always endeavor to finish under green, correct?
Absolutely. We have a plan in place for every event. If you think about it, we have a hard stop, right? So it was lap 200 and you work backwards. So the pace car picked up the 30 at lap 197. So if you do the math, there was really no way we could start the race or restart the race, especially doing it safely, which is our #1 priority, the safety of our drivers and teams. So again, we did everything we could. It's not the way we want to end the race, but certainly we were excited about the race up until that point.
All right, I want to talk about the massive safety implementation that is the aero screen. You heard us talk a lot about it in the broadcast. The drivers have praised it. As I said to Mark yesterday, fortunately or unfortunately, it has been tested multiple times, but it has come out with amazing results.
Yeah, quite proud of that. Obviously, there's a lot of people that were involved in that. If you look going back to 2019 at the COTA Open test, we talked to our drivers about, hey, what do we want to do? Where do we want to go? We had worked for a couple years to come up with a solution. We weren't able to get it done. So we came up with a plan. We start off with AFP device, which we ran on the cars last year. We got with our friends at Red Bull Advanced Technologies. They helped design it, develop it. They had already put it on their F1 car, so we knew that they had an idea of how to do it or the technology how to do it. We just needed them to put it on our car. So 1 year later, at the COTA Open Test in February of 2020, we hit it on 26 cars. So here we are a year and a half later, and it's already paid dividends at least 4 times.
So there were some spectacular crashes. I'm pleased to say that every driver was okay who crashed at the Indianapolis 500. Some of these young guys just rebounded the next day. They were in the gym the very next morning. Do you have any data back yet on some of those hits and how big they were, and that just speak to the robust and safe nature of these Indy cars?
Well, Dallara builds a great race car, great chassis. The G's that we saw from the Indianapolis 500 was between 50 and 90.
Oh my goodness.
So, big hits. Again, that was part of the reason, or part of the things we had to deal with the caution periods. There was a lot of debris, oil, fire, that type of thing. So we did all that. We've seen higher than 90 historically, but the car did its job, the aero screen did its job. Safety is our #1 priority.
I want to ask you one more question that the fans are asking us. Can I put this on you? Mid-Ohio. Talked about a double header. If it's going to go ahead, it should be in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Is it going to go? What's the percentage that it will happen?
I would say it's probably 80 to 90%. I mean, absolutely, we're doing everything we can to make it happen. We work with the state of Ohio. Green Savary are great guys, great promoters. We certainly want to go, and we hope we can go here very soon.
Do you feel like a circus performer this year, juggling? The schedules you've had to move and pivot and change, and it's been a testing year.
Absolutely. This is our 9th race this afternoon. It feels like our 30th. Obviously, there's a lot of different procedures that we have to go through to put on these events. Everybody's been spectacular. Our paddock, you guys, everybody at NBC, we appreciate all you've done and what you've done to get us here. So this is what we have to do to go race. We're glad to do it. We're glad there's fans here today at Worldwide Technology Raceway, and looking forward to a great day.
We call him El Presidente, Jay Fry, the president of the NTT IndyCar Series. He has a tough job, but he leads very, very well and effectively. All right, looking ahead to today's race, look for this young guy, Santino Ferrucci. We'll hear from this second-year IndyCar driver when we come back to St. Louis.
You would describe yourself with one word.
Driven. Persistent.
Idiot. No. Just kidding. No, let me do that again.
Determined.
I would say determined. I'm more determined now than ever.
I would just say crazy.
Relentless?
The only reason I want to say like misunderstood is just because I want to be known for a nice guy, and I know how I can come across. Warrior, maybe. Sounds cool. So.
Always good to hear the drivers describe themselves. And while we've been heaping praise on the veterans like Scott Dixon and Takuma Sato, have a look at the youth movement in IndyCar at the moment. Some spectacular talent here that you get the feeling they're going to be around for a long, long time, and none better than the youngest winner ever in IndyCar history, Colton Herta. He's with our James Hinchcliffe. Hinch?
Colton Herta brought the number 88 Capstone Honda home in 4th place yesterday. But Colton, what is it going to take today to get that first podium of the season?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like we've been 4th every single race this year. So, we're so close, just missing out on a little bit. But, yeah, I think we got a good car as we showed yesterday. We had good strategy yesterday, good stop. So hopefully that carries over into today. And, like we saw yesterday, it's going to be tough to pass. It's all going to be about in and out laps and choosing on if you're going to overcut or undercut. And, yeah, it's going to be a nail-biter during the pit stop sequence.
Before race 2 in Iowa, the teams had another hour of practice to tune on these race cars. That is not the case here today. So how much of a risk are you willing to take on changing the setup heading into today's race? Higher track temps, different rubber on the track?
Yeah, I think we have really good data from yesterday, so just some minor tweaks. I don't think the car was bad at all yesterday, so we don't really need to make too big of changes. So we got some police cars rolling by behind us. And, yeah, looking for a good race, and hopefully we can put the Capstone Honda car up front.
Colton Herta rolling off 10th. Kevin Lee.
Well, Santino Ferrucci might have been in position to win this race last year, except for an untimely caution. Yesterday, you drove to the front before a pit stop issue. What is it about short ovals in you?
It is a rhythm around this place. Something with short ovals, man. I'm just feel right at home.
So, yesterday, you learned some things. What can you take to today to maybe even be better?
Hey, without practice, our race was our practice. Race 2, second chance at it. Made a ton of changes in the car. I'm feeling real confident. I think we can come through the field again.
He's not kidding, Diff. He told me, I think we might have even better car for today.
Well, last week at the Indianapolis 500, he said he was going to put on some exciting moves, and he did, for an unbelievable fourth-place finish. And I guess, again, you can count on Santino Ferrucci being in the mix here today. Fellas, the NTT IndyCar Series has become renowned for its starts, and those opening laps, they're exhilarating. They're so exciting. You know what it's like from the driver's seat. But yesterday was just plain messy. What happened?
Well, it's Worldwide Technology Raceway. Every year, this track has unbelievably wild starts, and yesterday they couldn't even get to turn one. But this is, looking back, Newgarden making a move around Will Power into the wall in dirty air, then Ed Carpenter right on top. That was turn one, lap one. Then this is Sebastian Bourdais getting high at the exit of turn two. It's slick. There's turbulent air on the starts and on the restarts. This was Sato on the start. Huge moment walking it up the track to save it, Paul. And Hunter-Reay barely gets around, and then this.
Yeah, these guys, I think they just see that Dixon is just getting further and further down the road, and the urgency to try to make something happen right now is so high that these guys are just on edge. They know that the season's wrapping up soon, and Dixon is like so far out in front that they got to get a win if they're going to stay in the game.
Putting excess pressure on themselves, maybe. One young guy who was involved in that coming to the green, it wasn't even lap one, it was coming to the green crash yesterday, Oliver Askew of Arrow McLaren SP. Here he is.
Yeah, Lee, we heard the perspective of those that weren't able to finish the race, so I want Oliver's perspective. What did you see coming to the green?
All I saw was Simon accelerate in front of me, and that's my cue to go. You know, as soon as you see the car in front, accelerate, you go, and then, you know, as when everyone stopped in front of me, it was too late. I tried to get on the brakes to avoid it, but yeah, sorry to anyone involved. It was just a bad circumstance.
You had a great run at the Indy 500, and you were 3rd and 6th at Iowa. Can you do that today?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be a track position race today, as we saw yesterday. I have one of the best pit crews on pit lane, so I'm going to lean on them a little bit today, and hopefully we can make our way forward.
Good luck, Oliver. Hinch.
Guys, I'm standing right in front of turn one here at Worldwide Technology Raceway, sorry, and it's the tightest turn we have on an oval track in the NTT IndyCar Series. It's also super tight racing. We saw yesterday a lot of guys when going side by side. That car that's pinched down on the bottom, he's got to add so much more wheel, and that creates some loose moments. We're going to take a look here at Takuma Sato on this amazing outside pass on Pato Award. You can see down as he pinched him down, he got on the curb a little bit. You have a little bit of oversteer. That can lead to accidents if that car loses it. It's tough to hold it down there. I know that myself. Last year, Ryan Hunter-Reay and I got pinched down onto the curb. Big oversteer moment. So it's a popular passing opportunity, but definitely keep an eye out for guys on the bottom getting loose, maybe moving up the racetrack and collecting other cars. Guys.
Thanks very much, Hinch. And as you can see in the background, they're behind James and on track right now. This is a tribute to the first responders. And appropriately, as Hinch was talking about turn one and the characteristics, we saw some of the first responders go 4 wide. We may see that today as well.
Yeah, it's for sure going to be a crazy start again, but great to see the first responders recognized. Paul, it sounds a bit like the guys chasing you on a Saturday night.
Shit, it sounds like when we're trying to get to the airport when you're driving. But this is going to be an awesome race. It's hot, it's slick. We've got the NASCAR rubber down. It's going to be wild.
This race has always provided so much excitement. We saw that yesterday, and I think we are in for more again today. By the way, it's similar ambient temperature, but a lot more direct sunlight today. You've heard Scott Dixon talk about that already. Conditions are considerably different. No cloud cover today, and at the moment, touch wood, knock on wood, no threat of rain as we gear up for day 2 of this double-header weekend here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Another 200 laps, 250 miles awaits us, and in less than a quarter of an hour, we'll go racing here in St. Louis. Let's take a look at how they will line up for this second race in 2 days. It's round 9 of the 2020 season. Takuma Sato of Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan on the pole position alongside Joseph Newgarden. And then Will Power looking to make up for a frustrating day yesterday. Pato Award, another podium, and that win is knocking. Jack Harvey feels inspired. He had a really good run yesterday, but then the yellow didn't really help him all that much.
And some of these guys back here looking to make a jump on Scott Dixon. Marcus Ericsson and Simon Pagenaud start behind Dixon in row 4. Colton Herta probably looking for something bold. And then row 6, watch that row. 2 Andretti teammates with Rossi and Hunter-Reay, both known for big moments in turn 1.
Connor Daly wanting a good result here. He's super fast. Santino Ferrucci ran all the way up to the front, but had a late race pit stop problem, which knocked him further back. He wants redemption today, and Rinus VeeKay had a great run yesterday.
There are 10 of the 23 drivers who are starting in a better position for this race. Remember, the qualifying format was a 2-lap qualifier. Lap 1 determined where you'd line up for yesterday's race, and your second lap determined where you'll line up for today's race. So 10 of the drivers improved on their second lap, and they're in a better position for today. It's going to be a hot afternoon's work for sure as we take you trackside for the pre-race ceremonies. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please rise and remove your hats as the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Senior Pastor Terry Swan of Salem and Ladue UMC offers today's invocation.
Good and gracious God, we gather today in the spirit of your grace and give thanks for these, your first responders. Whether they serve in hospitals, streets, or homes, you have called them to show up in our times of need. Thank you for the courage and strength you have placed upon them. Thank you, God, for the beauty of this day, for this time in which we can offer our thanks and praise. We ask that you be with each driver. Give them clarity of thought and attention to detail. May their wheels never leave the ground, Lord. May they arrive at the finish line today safely. We pray for the pit crews and the teams and everyone who made today possible. We pray for those who have arrived today to watch a race, spend time with family and friends, and cheer for their driver. Put a hedge of protection around each person today, God, that all might be surrounded by your shelter. May we live in your grace today, O God. Help us to cast away the things in this world that divide us and unite us in your love, that we might live in your light and hope for a better tomorrow. In Jesus' name, amen.
Here today to honor America with the singing of our national anthem, please welcome St. Louis' own and NBC contestant of The Voice, Kennedy Holmes.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let's hear for Kennedy Holmes' performance of the national anthem.
I can't tell you how good that is to hear a round of applause after the national anthem. We have missed you, the fans. It's great to have you back here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. It was was so good yesterday, we're going to do it again today on a double-header weekend in the NTT IndyCar Series, where championship leader Scott Dixon is well and truly in command of this field with a big championship lead. However, he was hassled yesterday all the way to the checkered flag by the Indy 500 winner Takuma Sato, and snapping with them and at them is one of the star youngsters of IndyCar in 2020, Pato O'Ward. Is it going to be one of the veterans today or one of the newcomers? NBC Sports welcomes you to Worldwide Technology Raceway here in St. Louis, Missouri for round 9 of the NTT IndyCar Series. This is day 2 of a doubleheader weekend, the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. And not just a straight 500 miles, 2 250-mile races. Yesterday's was won by Scott Dixon, his 50th career victory, but he got there narrowly over Takuma Sato, who of course won the Indianapolis 500 a week ago. Hi folks, for those of you just joining us, Lee Diffie along with championship winning drivers Paul Tracy and Townsend Bell. PT knows how to win here. He was the inaugural winner in 1997. What are we going to watch for today? What do you think? Are we going to see another Dixon-Sato battle, or is there going to be somebody else in this?
Well, I think they're going to be in the mix, but Scott Dixon is in a little bit of the danger zone. He's starting a little bit further back than he would like, but look out for Pato O'Ward. He's been trying to kick the door down on his first win.
Pato O'Ward told me earlier today, he said, I'm so disappointed. He said, Dixon is hard to beat. It's like, what are you talking about? You're only a second-year driver. You're talking about one of the best in IndyCar. That's how the rest of the paddock feels. But he feels he may have something for these guys.
Yeah, I think he does. And I think Takuma Sato is the one I'm going to watch today, because yesterday we're talking about the Indy 500 winner was in tears, literally finishing second. He just won the Indy 500. That's how much he wants to beat Scott Dixon here today. I want you to watch the start. It's always wild and crazy here, and then there's a key moment of the race. Yesterday it was this guy Sato making a bold pass on Pato O'Ward.
And what we want today is a good, clean start. Unlike yesterday, it's all to play for. Can Dixon extend his championship lead, or do we see a new winner today? See you in a moment.
Back at Worldwide Technology Raceway, getting set for race 2 of the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. Just a slight delay for a moment. The sweepers are making their way around to deal with some debris. And actually, in this case, it was the sweeper that put the oil down. It wasn't the truck race that just completed a little while ago. So we'll be ready to go here in just a couple of minutes. No threat of rain today, so we are in good shape. How cool does this car look? The Big Machines Vodka Chevrolet with A.J. Foyt Racing in the famous number 14. And even more significant today, this is the last confirmed scheduled race for Tony Kanaan. Now, he is very much open. In fact, wants to come back and run some races next year, including the Indianapolis 500. But you're not going to see him do a full season again. So let's celebrate the former champ and Indianapolis 500 winner. And greetings from, quite a few people in the paddock, including those on his team. There's Charlie Kimball, teammate with A.J. Foyt Racing, coming over, and so many more. Very much celebrating the career of Tony Kanaan, one of the all-time greats and one of the fan favorites. Looking for another good run. Remember, he finished on the podium here last year. A little further up pit road, let's check in with James Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, I'm standing outside the number 27 Napa car for Andretti Autosport. Alexander Rossi behind the wheel, and obviously Alexander did not get any running yesterday in the race after that start line crash. So I asked him, what do you do setup-wise? Do you rely on the information from Colton Herta and from Ryan Hunter-Reay, who are both pretty happy with their cars? And he said, honestly, no. We qualified our race cars, so we're making adjustments and tuning it based on how it was in qualifying. So he's not far off of his teammates, but he did not rely purely on his teammates. One other thing to note, he actually had to switch chassis from that one, and he's now in Genevieve, my car from the Indy 500. So I really hope he treats her well, guys.
Yeah, it was another day that Alexander Rossi and the 27 team would rather forget yesterday. So wishing him a much more positive run today, and we'll talk a whole lot more about Tony Kanaan too throughout the course of this race and what today means for Tony Kanaan. We'll take advantage of this pause and this holding pattern to squeeze in a break so we can have more green flag racing when we come back.
The The Kentucky Derby was amazing. To me, it was like being able to experience the Indy 500 again from the outside.
And they're into the stretch.
The energy level felt the same, just in a shorter dose. I've never been so excited in my life.
Joseph Newgarden, the two-time series champion, and his wife Ashley had such a good time when they went to the Kentucky Derby. And just like the Indy 500 and so many other major sporting events being rescheduled in 2020, the 146th running of the Kentucky Derby, Saturday, 2:30 Eastern on NBC. And look at everybody getting blasted by the oil dry. Oof. That's quite the interesting start to the day. So the cleanup continues. There was some oil dropped by one of the service vehicles here at Worldwide Technology Raceway, and that's why we are in this unusual holding pattern to begin the second day of competition here on a really warm afternoon in St. Louis, Missouri. As we check in with James Hinchcliffe, with a good friend and an old teammate.
Hey, Robbie, we've been talking a lot about you this year and the experience and help that you bring to this team with two young drivers. You got to be pretty proud about what you're seeing at a Pato Award right now after another podium performance yesterday.
No, honestly, it's funny. I was expecting you to put the microphone. First timer over here, but
you'll learn. Yeah.
No, he's honestly doing a good job. I mean, he's 21, but he's not acting like it. He's doing such a good job through and through. But as you know, as a driver, it's the unseen things that get the results. It's his in-laps, out-laps, the whole pit sequence. And yesterday he was up against Dixon, and he held on like every pit stop. He didn't lose until, unfortunately, it seems like Dixon had a shorter fill there at the end, and he jumped us in that last sequence of stops. But honestly, he's doing a great job, and it's 5th race running now where he's put himself in contention to win. So it's only a matter of time before he gets that breakthrough.
It was a rough start for Oliver Askew, but he's been developing well. He's got a podium on the season. What are you working on with him right now in this race, too?
I think with Oliver, it's just we need to try to find a bit of flow with him. You know, he seems to be struggling a bit, you know, on weekend, off weekend, and unfortunately that happens as a rookie. He's still trying to figure out what he needs from the car to get him ultimately extremely comfortable, and we're getting there. But, you know, I think, as you know, especially on these ovals when the qualifying is by championship order, when you have a rough start to the season, you kind of pay the price in every qualifying on these short ovals. And, you know, we had a great qualifying run, but because he went so early, he ended up, you know, only qualifying 15th and 13th. But anything is to play for today, and hopefully we can get him a good top 10.
All right, well, hopefully you can get him up there. And I certainly know that being in the cockpit and being a rookie, having the wise words of an experienced driver like Robbie Wickens is going to help this afternoon. Kevin Lee.
By the way, Hinch, I'm hearing we're about 4 minutes away from the command, so we're getting close, and a chance to talk some strategy with Team Penske General Manager Kyle Moyer. Let's start with the car that you're on, Simon Pagino's, that didn't run a competitive lap yesterday. Everybody else learned. What do you guys have for race 2?
Well, pot luck, really. No, with the crash right off the start, we were missing half the back of the car, and we couldn't shift, so we were out there trying to survive, and in the end, long run, we had to call it, you know. But I think we got a pretty good car. We've used our teammates. I think, you know, Will and Joseph were really good until the yellow came out yesterday. I think they had a good shot for up front, so, you know, we're taking along with them. I think we'll be okay.
All right, the good news, Kyle, is you're about to go to work. I think we're going to fire their engines coming up in just a moment. Stay with us, getting set to go again just outside St. Louis with Indycar.
We should have been racing by now here at Worldwide Technology Raceway for the 9th round of the 2020 NTT IndyCar Series. However, we're in an unfamiliar holding pattern here, and it's not for rain like it usually is if we're on an oval. The track needs cleaning. There was some oil spilled with one of the service vehicles, and it's being rectified as we speak. But looked like we were getting ready for the command shortly before coming back from this most recent commercial break. However, the holding pattern has been extended, so stay with us. We will go racing here shortly. And it will be worth watching when that green flag flies. And what's on the line today? Well, Scott Dixon, if he repeats what he did yesterday, could go within one of tying the legend Mario Andretti for the all-time IndyCar runner-up position at the moment. Dixon, though, after yesterday notching up win number 50, said, "It's good, and I'm thrilled. I'm actually delighted, but I've got to keep on trucking." Meaning, I'm going to get as many wins as I can And he's showing no signs of making a decision of retiring, by the way, the newly turned 40-year-old. So there's a lot more wins to come from that driver of the number 9 PNC Bank Honda for sure. Short oval racing, the first of 2 races this weekend for the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. They're jumping out of line, it's a collision!
Blue jumped the start, hammered everybody.
Rossi just has to be beside himself.
I was driving straight. I don't know what you want me to say.
Pato O'Ward has led for 83 laps.
Whoa! Rosenquist with a big slide, almost lost it.
Got ourselves up, okay.
Top 2 are in, Pato O'Ward, Scott Dixon.
And the battle will be on pit stops.
Can the Chip Ganassi Racing Group beat him? And they will!
He got him.
Dixon takes over control.
You are the leader, 34 laps to go. Box.
Sato comes to pit road.
Slow on the right rear.
Whoa!
Hold on, both of you.
Takuma Sato, that was awesome.
Good job, let's go get Dixon.
The chase is on by the man who says no attack, no chance. Scott Dixon is going to be the 11th different winner here from 11 races.
Oh, yeah.
Dixon is a 50-time IndyCar winner.
Well done, Scott. Yeah, thank you, guys and girls. That was awesome.
It's an interesting point, that, isn't it? 11 races. They haven't all been in succession. Going back to 1997, our very own PT, Paul Tracy, won, followed by Alex Zanardi. Michael Andretti won here. Won Pablo Montoya, Al Unser Jr., Gilles de Ferran. What an honor roll this is. Elio Castro Neves, that was in 2003. Then there was a 14-year gap of competition here until Joseph Newgarden won, followed by Will Power. Last year, Takuma Sato in that thriller. And then yesterday, Scott Dixon. 11 different winners from 11 different IndyCar races contested. That is quite uncharacteristic and unusual, Kevin.
Hey, how about this for something unique today? We've talked about Scott Dixon, the 5-time champ. How about a 4-time champion, 3-time Indianapolis 500 winner? Back in the cockpit, Dario Franchitti is strapped in. He is going to lead the field today in Honda's fastest seat in sports 2-seater. First time I think Dario's been able to do this. We may try to chat with him a little bit later on. That's also, by the way, former St. Louis Cardinals outfielder Kerry Robinson, his passenger. He is a St. Louis native, so he is ready to go. Dario was joking as he walked by. He doesn't know I've been told not to drive a race car anymore, so he signed the waiver and he's ready to go. But how cool is it to have an ambassador like Dario still in the paddock, working and doing things like this to spread the word of IndyCar and give fans just a little bit of a feel of what it's like to really get after it in an IndyCar.
Very cool to have Dario back behind the wheel. Last week it was Mario Andretti driving the Honda 2-seater with his son Michael, and then of course Marco on the pole. Now, here's a winner from Worldwide Technology Raceway, Joseph Newgarden. Yesterday didn't quite go to plan. He's looking to get a better result. He was a little frustrated with yesterday's 12th position, as you can imagine. But Joseph's been involved in some thrillers here at this 1.25 mile racetrack, and he would very much like to be in the mix again. Santino Ferrucci. Well, Newgarden and Ferrucci got into it last year in an unexpected last corner, last lap altercation where Ferrucci came back down onto the racing line and Newgarden was approaching at a rapid pace, caught by surprise, spun and lost probably half a dozen or so positions and championship points. He wasn't too thrilled with the youngster, with the rookie. They had words, sensible words afterwards. Newgarden said, hey, we need to respect each other. And I know you're fast, but we've got to look after each other as well. And Ferrucci was flying, Paul, yesterday.
He absolutely was. And the thing that I noticed with all these new young guys, Townsend, is they really don't give any quarter to the veterans. They're here to race, and they're going to race you hard. Really no respect given.
No respect. Certainly the skill is there, the bravery is there, and they're tuned up on those simulators constantly. Ferrucci did have problems down on pit lane on that final stop for the second year in a row. But let's go down and learn a little bit more about what's going on the stand there with James Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, I'm down here with Jimmy Vasher, one of the owners of Santino's car, and he was definitely the star of the show last year. A win kind of taken away from him there. Again, yesterday, the biggest mover, and it just slipped through your fingers. What do you guys have to do to change your luck and get that first podium for Santino?
Well, he's just got to keep doing what he's doing. He's doing a great job. I mean, to see that Steelmaster car ripping around the outside, even last weekend at Indy, we just got to execute in the pits, blocking and tackling, just the basics. We let him down yesterday, and hopefully we don't do that today.
Do you guys think you had the speed to run up front if you had the track position, maybe go for the win?
I don't know. I mean, Takuma was right on our backside, pretty close. So I think that he pretty much had the speed out there. And Dixie's Dixie. We were certainly a top 5 car.
So what do you think? How's morale been? I mean, after what happened last night, did you talk to the guys? Have you kind of all come together and said anything to them?
Oh yeah, no, we got to shake it off. We got another one today. The guys were working hard on their stops today and just trying to understand. What's going on. The nuts are coming out of the sockets, and so we did everything we could overnight. Spirits are high. Santino's head's in the game, and we got to do it again today.
All right, Beto. Well, best of luck.
Thanks,
hopefully,
James.
he's got that opportunity again. He's going to be another exciting one to watch, starting a little further back in the field, but I guarantee you he's not going to stay there. Guys?
Again, thanks for that hint. Again, if you're just turning on, we should have been racing by now, but there has been a little spill on the track from one of the surface vehicles, and it is being cleaned up, and there you see it happening right then and there. Brings up an interesting point, Paul and Townsend, that the drivers are sitting in their race suits, in their helmets, in their cars with that new aero screen around. Not a whole lot of airflow. It's a very hot day here in St. Louis.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers have fans. If you go back to Newgarden's car, they've got a really slick setup. You see the fan right there on the front of Takuma's car, but Townsend, they got a really nice setup on the Penske team. It's real, flush on top, and there's a big fan underneath, and there you see Rosenquist's car with the triple fan. So they're trying to keep these drivers as cool as possible in these situations.
Well, there's keeping drivers cool in the cockpit and keeping them cool over the radio. Let's go down to Kevin Lee and meet one of the best in the business at coaching his driver to the line.
12 or 13. Yeah, I got a couple over here. Mike Hull, the managing director of Chip Ganassi Racing, and Chip Ganassi of Chip Ganassi Racing. So we know Scott Dixon is really good. He's won 5 championships, but he's not the first guy to win a championship for your team. Let's just kind of talk big picture. I want you to brag on yourself a little bit. What have you been able to build to win? We think it's 13 championships. I need to go look it up and confirm that, but this has been amazing.
Well, it's just it's about working with great people. It's about having great partners, great people to work with. I've been blessed to have people like this guy to my left here for so many years. People like Julian Robertson and Barry Wanzer and, Doug Ducart now. And, just person after person over the years have contributed to this team's success. And we're just very, very lucky.
Mike, you've been asked to do this a lot. As we celebrate number 50 for Scott Dixon, you've been on the headset with him for almost all of those. What separates him? Can you put this into words?
Well, I've been lucky enough to be with him for 49 of them. He was with Pac West for the first one, but we'll try to get a couple more here if we can. When I started watching racing, Mario Andretti was way above everyone else. And in my lifetime, I never thought that I would see what we saw yesterday again. In terms of working with Scott, he's now a 40-year-old guy in a 20-year-old guy's body, but he has the experience of 20 years racing Indy cars. And that's a hard combination to beat, because what he does is he works to make himself first better every day. And so that drives all of us. That's our culture, and he fits. I wish he were bionic. He's not, but none of us are. So we'll just keep rolling.
Mike, Chip, thank you. Good luck on getting a sweep here today.
What a day it was yesterday, and keep in mind that both Chip and Mike are celebrating the team's 30th anniversary season. So for it to be the best season that Scott Dixon has had in his career, to win 4 of the opening 8 races, he has never done that in his 20-year career. So it's pretty special times for not only Scott Dixon, but Chip Ganassi, Mike Hull, the entire organization. We are getting close, just got word. I think we're about a minute away from the command to fire the engines, which is promising news. We've got 200 laps, 250 miles ahead here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. So a slight delay. Once the cars leave, by the way, it'll be a double file start. The lap count will start after the 4th lap. They're going to do 6 laps just to take a closer look at the track and get ready to roll. And again, fans have been welcomed here to Worldwide Technology Raceway, a limited amount of fans at that. But let's go trackside for the much-awaited command.
Race fans, it's time for the most famous words in all of sports. Here to give the command, please welcome back today's Grand Marshal, President of Bommarito Automotive Group, John Bommarito.
On behalf of the Bommarito family and the entire Bommarito Automotive Group, and of course my friends, the guys, I want to personally thank the fans in the stands today, and welcome to Worldwide Technology Raceway. If you didn't make it out this year, we'll see you again next year. But in the meantime, I need you to get on over to Bommarito.com, where we can buy, sell, or trade your next vehicle. You guys ready to get this race started? All right. Gentlemen, start your engines!
Goes up from the pit area, here on the front back to weekend set going 200 laps of
Well, because of Scott Dixon's dominance this year, we are not having the tight championship right now that we are accustomed to. Well, let's think about it from this perspective. We are witnessing greatness in its prime. It's like Tiger Woods in his heyday, Jordan's Bulls, Olympians, Usain Bolt, Michael Phelps, and maybe even comparing him to Mario Andretti and A.J. Foyt. Pretty cool to watch history as it unfolds.
The gap at the top of the overall championship may be huge, but remember, there's another title that's being fought this year. That's for Rookie of the Year. Rinus VeeKay is leading it right now in 14th place, but right behind him, tied for 15th, these two guys right here, Oliver Askew and Alex Palou. I feel like whoever leads this race is probably going to lead this racetrack with the points lead in Rookie of the Year.
And Rinus VeeKay with a somewhat frustrating but still positive day yesterday. He came home in 6th. With that 6th place finish, he was able to leapfrog the Spanish driver Alex Palou for the top mark in Rookie of the Year standings at the moment. There's Dario Franchitti in the Honda 2-seater, the fastest seat in sports. And nice to just be saying Dario's name and seeing him behind the wheel of a car. Again, normally we're talking about him on the timing stand at Chip Ganassi Racing. Very cool. 4-time champ, 3-time Indy 500 winner, all-round good guy. And as we roll through the grid, I want to tell you about who is starting in preferred positions. Sato on the pole, Newgarden alongside him are up 4 positions better than where they started yesterday.
A lot of these guys will be looking to make a jump on that front row and try to win today to stop that guy, number 9, Scott Dixon. So dominant this season. Back in row 4, there's more muscle though, Paul. They're coming.
Absolutely. Pagenaud wants to rebound from getting knocked out at the start yesterday, but it's going to be now very tricky conditions for these guys. Herta wants to get his first podium of the year. There's a lot of dust, a lot of sand, different rubber on the track today, so conditions are not as good as they were yesterday. And Rossi right here, horrible season so far. He really wants a win.
Lots of bad luck there on row 6. Row 7, 2 rookies. Both of these drivers have been fast. They've also had issues at some tracks. Oliver Askew, 4 DNFs this year. Big crash at Indianapolis, crash on the start yesterday. And a couple more young American drivers with Daly and Ferrucci looking to come forward.
Zach Veach is up 6 positions better than where he started yesterday. That's not the case for Rinus VeeKay. And Tony Kanaan in what could possibly be his final IndyCar race of an amazing 23-year career starts 2 positions better than yesterday.
Charlie Kimball, Ed Carpenter, and Graham Rahal, bad qualifying for both races and was out early yesterday as well.
I want to walk you through some onboard views that we will show you, and we always look forward to them. Joseph Newgarden is carrying the Hitachi onboard with the number 1 Team Penske Chevrolet. This kid gave us some action yesterday. The Arrow onboard of Pato O'Ward. 2 podiums. Could that win be today? would be celebrated. His teammate at Arrow McLaren SP carries the Mission Foods onboard camera. That's Oliver Askew, who the guys were just talking about. And Felix Rosenquist, NTT Data Honda. Here is the onboard view. He got his best oval result yesterday, the Swedish driver. Graham Rahal carries the United Rentals onboard camera, and we all wish Graham a better day today. It was very frustrating. He had a gearbox control unit issue yesterday that have him many laps down. Zach Veach gives us this view, courtesy of Gainbridge, and he too is hoping for a better day. He was caught up in that huge crash, just like his Andretti Autosport teammate Alexander Rossi, who carries the Auto Nation onboard camera, just like his teammate Ryan Hunter-Reay in the 28 DHL Honda. Both views courtesy of Auto Nation. So there you go, there are your onboard views for today's 200 lap race. By the way, considerably warmer. Yesterday's track temperature 101 degrees. Today it is 120 as we take you to the Land Rover track facts. I want to take your eyes down to the bottom of that screen at just the peculiar shape of this track, right, Paul?
Yeah, it's like an egg-shaped track. It's got a tight turn 1 and 2 where you've got to brake a little bit and downshift a couple gears. Some guys in the race choose to go down 3, some guys go down 2, and then you come off of turn 1, 2, and you accelerate hard down the back straightaway, going up through the gears. Optimally, you want to get to about 6th at the end of the back straightaway, and if the car is good, you can hold the car, Townsend, pretty much wide open all the way around turn 3 and 4 where they're at now.
Yeah, 3 and 4 right here, fast and flowy. 1 and 2 tight, demanding, and when you go in, you can't see where you're coming out. So it's full commitment into the banking down at turn 1 as we have 1 lap to go finally before the green flag here. And with all that oil dry, it's probably going to be dusty, probably going to be slippery, and most certainly going to be wild like it is every year here on the first lap.
By the way, if you look at the top left of your screen, lap 2 of 200, remember I said there were going to be 4 pace laps, and then the lap count would start. So they will come to green, but with already 2 laps under caution to get things going. So this is the first of 3 double-header weekends. We heard from the president of J5 Indycar earlier that Mid-Ohio in 2 weeks is a 90% chance of happening. We really hope that does to finish off the second half of this season very, very well. This is the Bommarito Auto Group 500. Takuma Sato on pole, right alongside the defending IndyCar Series champion, ready to go. Look for a clean start. Let's hope everybody gets away. They're in the start zone, and Sato will see that green flag first.
Sato after the throttle early and heavy as Newgarden drafts right up behind him. Dixon looks 3 wide, and Alexander Rossi all over the curb, decides to back out. So does Sato. Sato almost taken out there.
Pagano was the meat in the sandwich there, got squeezed, but Sato's got a nice gap. Rossi tried to make a move, but I believe he lost the position to his teammate, so he got shuffled back a couple spots. Santino Ferrucci, cold tire master on the outside of Rossi.
Look at this.
Pato Award.
Award and power. Herder on the inside of Dixon and almost tagged his rear left.
That was close. Dixon. Oh my God, he nearly took himself out there. We never see Dixon get that close to other guys.
Dixon closing the door on Colton Herta. James Hinchcliffe, you talked about this at the start of the race. The outside groove in turn 1 really is the preferred one because you can shut the air off on the guy to the inside.
You can, and I'm almost waiting for some guys to choose not to defend going into one if someone's under attack. Choose the high line. It's such a tough thing to do because conventional wisdom is the bottom's where you want to be, but we've seen so many times over yesterday and already today that top line can really get rolling, and you can make passes or even maybe defend passes.
Santino's flying. He's flying through the field, up to 10th.
6 places he's made up in that Sealmaster Honda. Driving with a little bit of frustration, defending from Ryan Hunter-Reay. And RHR's going to take that high side. He's got him.
Well, maybe not. Doesn't have it yet. He fights him back, and they almost make contact. Santino hanging tough. He's going to try to come back on him, but he's been made up a bunch of positions as he goes for the outside and does it.
Oh, boy. Ferrucci, big time.
Cuts the air off of Hunter-Reay, takes the air away.
Call was be smart with him. And look behind, Connor Daly has been able to dispose of Alexander Rossi. He's working on Renus VK. The Gallagher Carlin Chevrolet up on that high line. Here's the view from Rossi.
Rossi got shuffled back on the start. He tried an inside move and then got pinched off by his teammate, and then he lost 3 or 4 positions.
Here, closing to 1 back.
See how dirty the track is on the camera there. All the stuff that's just peltering the screen on the camera.
Takuma Sato up front boasts a 1 second lead over Joseph Newgarden, fellow Team Penske mate. Will Power in third. O'Ward is in fourth. It was a good arm wrestle early between Power and O'Ward. And then Dixon in fifth. Herder in sixth. But this is Sato in tears yesterday after the race. That's how much the win meant to him. He was the defending race winner from last year. He won the Indy 500 last week. He was trying to become the first driver in 20 years to win the Indy 500, and then the very next race. Juan Pablo Montoya was the last to do that, and he had fought so hard, made up so much ground, was all over Dixon, only to narrowly miss out. This is Marco Andretti, and Simon Pagenaud's in trouble.
Oh, second day in a row for Pagenaud. Yesterday's race, Pagenaud had contact in that early start incident, but let's look at the start again with Pagenaud. He's 3 wide, Colton Herta to the outside, Marcus Ericsson to the inside, and at this point, Pagenaud knows this is not going to work out. That is a smart move to avoid being totally eliminated in the race today. But watch Ferrucci in the black Sealmaster car, goes to the high side of Palou and just fires it off here into turn 1. High, wide, and handsome.
He's really got an awareness of what direction the cars are going to go as he rounds up Rossi right there, and then he lines all of these guys up here and goes for the outside down the back straightaway and makes some more passes.
Oh, look at VK. Look at VK. Oh, that was even better. The Sonax Chevrolet, the 19-year-old Dutch driver, that was outstanding.
Well, hey, hang on here. Ferrucci's saying, oh, you like that? Watch this. I'm coming back on the front straightaway with a run for the second lap in a row, going high into turn 1.
These kids, we told you about it at the top of the show, IndyCar Live. The youngsters are turning it on. Kev?
When I walked up to him on the grid today, I said, did you make any changes to make the car better? And his eyes got big, and he said, oh, yeah. We weren't even very good yesterday, and he raced his way up to fourth, so watch out for Santino Ferrucci today.
Tell you, a guy that we don't really give that much love to, who's doing a terrific job this weekend, is Jack Harvey. He ran fourth for the longest time yesterday, and with a ill-timed yellow, he got shuffled to the back of the pack. Right now, he's running seventh, having another great weekend on the ovals.
I spoke to Mike Shank, one of his team co-owners. Mike said it is, you know, other than that race where he finished on the podium at the Indy Grand Prix last year, Mike Shank said, I think that's the best I've seen Jack drive yesterday, and he's really, Hinch, feeling more comfortable on the ovals each and every time. He got a pair of top 10s at Iowa earlier this year, and I think it's a good day coming today. There's Mike.
And he had that top 10 at the Indy 500 as well on a streak of 3, and Mike Shank is so proud of this group. They had their fastest ever pit stop yesterday during the race, so that was not the issue, but Jack was just ruining that yellow flag. He had a little bit of a better starting spot, didn't make that spectacular 3-wide pass on the outside we saw yesterday, but he's comfortable. He's driving better than he ever has. He's got a great coach in his ear, Bob Perone up on the spotter stand. He is in a very good spot to try to get a good result today.
The Abeam Honda for Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. Takuma Sato, the 43-year-old Japanese driver, the now 2-time Indy 500 winner, is in command of the Bommarito Automotive Group 500, day 2.
The park.
NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar is brought to you by Bommarito.com. Open 24/7. United Rentals, official equipment rental services provider of Rahal Letterman Lanigan and sponsor of Graham Rahal. NTT, official sponsor and technology partner of the NTT IndyCar Series. And by Honda, an official vehicle of the NTT IndyCar Series. And speaking of Honda, we're riding on board the Gamebridge Honda of Zach Veach as Veach tries to make his way forward. Zach's down in 18th position. Who has made up plenty of positions? Honda's on the move. Well, Santino Ferrucci driving that Sealmaster Honda for Dale Coyne with Vassar Sullivan up 6 positions. And we saw those spectacular moves. He's got a little bit of breathing room right now in that 18. He's got Ryan Hunter-Reay still chasing him down, but not as close as what it was before. You can see the gap there up ahead of Santino Ferrucci to Felix Rosenquist, who's in a new car today, or a new livery car. It's the Monster livery, all black, looks beautiful, looks tough and mean. And he got his best oval result yesterday, the Swedish driver. We'll see what he can do today.
Sato catching up the back of the field. Ed Carpenter right there in front of him. Ed particularly struggling this weekend for some reason. Townsend is just really hasn't had the speed, and VK has been very competitive this weekend within the team.
Well, here's the crazy thing is that Ed Carpenter's lap time's not really that slow. He's turning 26.7. Sato low 26s. He'll slow to probably the same pace as Ed Carpenter now that he's in the turbulent air. Kevin, what do you got?
Well, as we watch Takuma Sato start to make his way through lap traffic, just a thought. He's 4th in the championship. He's never finished better than 8th. He's won his 2nd Indianapolis 500. Is he coming into his own at 43 years old? And maybe it's because, you know, he's only been racing. I say only, but it's been about 23 years. Most guys in their late 20s or 30 years old have been racing for that amount of time. He was a high school cycling champion. Didn't start racing until he was in college. Maybe Takuma Sato is a late bloomer, and experience is going to give him another boost in the second stage of his career.
He certainly is, guys. I mean, let's be honest. At the beginning of his career, Formula One, IndyCars, I mean, he crashed a lot of equipment. And right now, he's driving really as good as anybody out there, in his awareness, Townsend, of what's around him is very much like Scott Dixon. He doesn't put himself in bad situations anymore.
Well, and what Sato told me was that the difference now is that he knows what a winning car feels like, especially on an oval. Not only here, but also at Indianapolis, where he won just a week ago for his 2nd win. He understands the feel. That's so important, Paul, as you know better than anyone. Once you feel it, you know how to get there and repeat it. You know it when you come across it in the setup. And that's the key, as Sato continues to work on trying to make progress on Carpenter here.
You know what happened back in Japan, in his home country of Japan? There is for over 80 years, this billboard has been up in Osaka. On the left there, that's the Glico man and the running man. And Takuma Sato's stance from his first Indy 500 win was put up there in this very popular spot in Osaka. Well, a lot of people made a big deal of that. If he wins again, he should do the stance. So last Sunday, he did do the Glico man, the running man stance. And the response from his homeland of Japan has been even more than his initial win. However, with being trapped there a little behind Ed Carpenter, there's company now for Takuma Sato. The Team Penske boys are here.
Yeah, he's backed up in traffic here. Ed's kind of holding up this train. He's not inclined to just move over and let them go by. He's fighting to stay on the lead lap, and there's a pretty good gap to the next car in front, so he's going to fight as long as he can. But back to Sato a little bit. The way he drove the Indy 500 last week, I've never seen him drive that way. It was very Dixon-like, Townsend. He sat and waited till the very last stint to make his move, and that's typically not what we see out of most all of the field. They want to go all the time.
Certainly one of the biggest sporting heroes in Japan now. I could see him racing until he's 60 quite easily, but right now what I'll be looking for is the pit stops will come in about 15 laps, and now that the leaders are stacked up, it puts a huge premium once again on your in laps, on your pit crew on pit lane, and your out laps. We saw some mistakes and some drama yesterday on pit lane, and look, here comes Dixon, here comes O'Ward. So if it stays green, these pit stops absolutely huge for track position.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody comes early now that the pace is kind of backed up. They're running 26.7s. Yesterday they were down in the mid 25s. If somebody doesn't jump in early, get some fresh tires, and really try to rip off some quick laps and do the undercut and get track position that way.
There were just 2 cautions in yesterday's 200-lap race. Same distance today, of course, 250 miles. But we've run green all the way. Technically, there was a caution to start with, but you know what I mean. Once the green has dropped, we've been running smooth and clean. You see the Firestone telemetry there on your screen, following Joseph Newgarden's progress. Watch what the speed is. Gets up to 175, broaches 180.
Yeah, the big
coming in 190, 193.
Big speed is down the front straightaway. This is a 5th gear corner most of the time. And yesterday we were seeing almost 200 miles an hour, and we saw 200 miles an hour in qualifying as Will Power gets a run on his teammate and makes a nice move down into turn 1.
That was smooth. Newgarden didn't contest it too harshly. So now Power is trying to bridge that gap to Takuma Sato. He's almost within half a second of the man who started from pole and who's led all 35 laps. First of the pit stops, but quick reminder tonight, the Stanley Cup playoffs are on NBC in prime time. A series that's taken toughness to a whole nother level. Flyers, Islanders. There's nothing like playoff hockey. You'll see it tonight, 8 Eastern on NBC. By the way, Islanders lead that series 2-1. That was Rinus VK, the 19-year-old rookie, in the Sonax Chevrolet. Takuma Sato continues to lead, but Will Power has been putting a lot of pressure on. Now Newgarden's back up with him. Hinch.
The number 28 DHL Hunter for Andretti Autosport. Ryan Hunter-Reay behind the wheel into the pits. 4 Firestone tires. Watches Speedway gas. He has not made as much progress as he's wanted, but we know that Ryan Hunter-Reay is always a force to be reckoned with on these short tracks.
So VK used that strategy to good effect yesterday, pitting a little early, getting out in clean air, as now we see a lot of drivers signaling that they're coming to pit lane. It looks like Will Power, that's a move. That's not a signal. That's a signal for position. I guess he was already ahead of Newgarden, so just defending there down the back straightaway gets a little tricky when cars are starting to peel off to pit.
I'm actually surprised, Townsend, that some of these guys haven't tried to peel off, because they're pretty jammed up in this lap traffic and not really going anywhere. I wouldn't be surprised to see Power or Newgarden or any of these guys dive in early. But it sounds as if Hinch Rossi's going to come to the pit lane.
Well, I guess the reason really is insurance. You don't want to end up in that danger zone, pitting under green, and then having a yellow come out and being caught out in that regard. So I would expect the leaders to stay out really as long as possible. You can see Power up ahead, really squirming around, trying to hang on to his car. As Rossi, another one coming in early, skids perfectly to a stop. As the 27 boys fire on those tires. A little issue on the right front. They're going to be late here.
A lot of problems these days with the pit stops. It seems as though everybody has some kind of an issue that just never seems to go slick, as Marcus Ericsson pulls out in front of Rossi with a good gap. But these are the first to come and get fresh tires. But here comes the Penske boys. It looks like they're going to hit the pit lane.
Newgarden the first to do it, Kevin.
Joseph Newgarden, as we see one of the Arrow McLarens, that's Pato O'Ward, coming in, making his first stop. They have been excellent on stops almost every time this year. We've seen several already come in. Joseph Newgarden, no change is expected for him. All of the Penskes made some changes from yesterday to today. We'll check back in up front again. Hinch, go ahead.
Number 60 car is in. Meyershank Racing. Jack Harvey coming in for 4 tires. No adjustments on that car. He's happy. He just hasn't had. Oh, Kevin.
Most of the leaders in, including Scott Dixon, running in 5th most of his first sequence. Also see Simon Pagenaud, Will Power in. No changes for Power in this circumstance. And some tight racing off the pit road. And Newgarden wins that little mini battle.
Newgarden gets position.
See how these guys blend. Look at Rinus VK. There's the benefit of pitting early and getting in clean air. VK already has made his stop outside of Newgarden and takes the position. So once again, that early gamble paying off for the 21. Here comes Power.
Let's see where he blends in comparison to VK and his teammate Joseph Newgarden. Newgarden's already over the start-finish line. This is going to be really close between the 2 Penske Chevrolet drivers. Power ahead. Can he stay ahead of VK?
I think he's going to stay ahead of VK if he can get the tires up to temp. He's got to have a good corner here. The outlap is so important. VK closing the gap, has the inside line, but I think he's safe.
Meanwhile, Pato O'Ward also able to jump, I think, ahead of Power there.
Looks like it. Yeah, he is.
So Sato's still on track. Yesterday, he used going long to his benefit. Everybody else is pitted, but this benefited him late in the race yesterday.
O'Ward pitted 2 laps prior to Will Power. Let's put him ahead of the Team Penske driver. Yet to see race leader Takuma Sato come in. Herder, Daly, Andretti. This is tight. Ferrucci in the mix with his Dale Coyne teammate Alex Palou.
Making a move on Carpenter. Palou fires it in inside as well. Both Dale Coyne drivers clear.
And the teammates stopped on exactly the same lap 44.
Alexander Rossi down the back straightaway gets by Ed Carpenter to turn 3.
Connor Daly into bit box. He was one of the ones that's trying to do the overcut. Takuma Sato made it work very good last race to get that lead in the last stint, and a very clean stop for the Gallagher car.
So Herta now has closed the gap down to Sato. It's only 0.6 of a second right now. 26.6, and here they come. Here comes Herta and his teammate.
Colton Herta followed Takuma Sato on that long strategy, pitting from second place, in very well on the mark. The crew going to work. There's no changes planned. He just wanted tires. He's happy with the car.
Colton Herta described his race yesterday as pretty quiet. He said, I was kind of in my own zone. I don't think I executed a single pass on track for position. We just had good strategy. I kept it clean. I hit a fuel number, and that yielded us a really nice position of 4th. So we'll see what Colton Herta can do today. Now, Sato, Andretti, Askew, and Charlie Kimball, the only 4 cars on track yet to pit.
So Sato last lap is a 26.2. He's picked it up now that he's got a little bit of, he's not under pressure, Townsend, but the guys who have pitted are really not making any ground. 26.1 for Newgarden, 26.2 for Dixon.
Well, the guy that is ahead of that pack of the cars that have pitted is Pato O'Ward, and to your point, Paul, 26.1 is Palou and Ferrucci pushing their way through. Zach Veach caught out there, gonna lose a spot there to Rossi.
These new rookies are so aggressive. You almost think of Kevin Veach as a rookie. He's been around a couple years. He's so small, but these new guys just super aggressive.
And Paul, we talked about how Simon Pagenaud was entering unknown, no effective laps yesterday. You guys saw all those positions he lost at the beginning of the race. The car is okay. He said maybe the ride height is a little bit off. And he's also talking about a 4-wheel slide as he rides around in 19th right now. What's he talking about?
Well, he's just got no grip. I mean, it feels like the car is up off the ground, like the ride height's too high, and it's not in the track, Townsend. He's just lacking grip front and rear.
Had issues yesterday after contact before even the start line. That big pile up. Lost the gear shift sensor. Had to manually lift for every upshift and downshift like a motorcycle, which is a big deficit in terms of straight line acceleration when you're having to lift off the throttle with every upshift. And troubles continue today for Pagenaud. Just very uncharacteristic. If you think back a couple years ago when he was leading this race and battling for position with Joseph Newgarden.
Here comes the leader. Last lap was a 25.7, so his in-lap was strong. We'll see if this pans out for him. He put together some really good laps the last 3 or 4 laps.
Pato O'Ward has just entered turns 1 and 2. We'll keep you in the loop as to where the next quickest guy is.
A little long in the box there, locked it up. Townsend slid about a foot long, but guys got it. Nice pit stop.
Here comes O'Ward, front straight. This is going to be close.
It's going to be real close.
Really
I think he's going to get him. He's got him easy.
No problem at all. Pato O'Ward
lost a lot of spots.
To the lead of the race.
And I don't think that was just from sliding long. I think that's from staying out, trapped behind Charlie Kimball, because once Sato cleared Kimball, he picked up half a second a lap.
Well, he lost about 7 spots on that exchange. So what worked for him yesterday to jump almost to get ahead of Dixon today does not work out.
He goes in behind Felix Rosenquist in 8th position and some almost 6 seconds down on the new race leader, Pato O'Ward, who led nearly 100 laps yesterday. The 21-year-old Mexican driver for Arrow McLaren SP is back out in front, and he told me today he feels comfortable leading this star-studded field. He's doing it again. On September 10th, Patrick Mahomes and the Super Bowl champion Chiefs, they kick off their season by hosting Deshaun Watson and the Texans. And then on September 13th, Dak Prescott's Cowboys visit Aaron Donald and the Rams' new home on the season premiere of Sunday Night Football only on NBC. Looking forward to that, really looking forward to that. This is Pato O'Ward, the 2018 Indy Lights champion. Had a mixed year last year, racing in a variety of series all over the world, including opening up his racing year doing 7 IndyCar races before going to Europe and then Japan. But now he is back in the United States full-time in IndyCar for Arrow McLaren SP, and this guy is driving well beyond his 21 years on this planet. He's a tough competitor. He is fast, he's highly entertaining, and he's now leading this race as he did 24 hours ago. The guy who led 59 laps to begin this race is right there, Takuma Sato in the Abim Consulting Honda for Rahal Letterman Lanigan. But that strategy and the stop didn't quite go to plan, fellas.
Well, I talked earlier about just the urgency of your in-lap, your out-lap, and your pit stop, and the pressure it puts on driver and crew. Watch Takuma Sato come in, and Paul pointed this out, just a little bit long on the stop. You'll see the stopwatch on the right. You'll normally look for a 7.3, 7.6, so maybe only 3/10 there, but I think the issue was really keeping Sato out behind lap traffic. He was stuck behind Charlie Kimball for many laps, and Paul losing about half a second a lap in that situation. It's dropped him all the way down to 8th, but look at the pit time differential. This is what Robert Wickens was talking about with Pato O'Ward, just crushing it on in-lap, pit out, and the total time gain, 2.7 seconds on that exchange, and Sato right now sits 5 seconds back of O'Ward.
And several positions further up the road, Paul, from Takuma Sato, there is that black and white Sonax Chevrolet for Ed Carpenter Racing, the teenager from the Netherlands, coming out of Indy Lights Racing, Rinus VK. This kid is spectacular. He finished 6th at the sixth last night here, 20th at the Indy 500. That didn't underscore how well he ran at Indianapolis until a pit road incident. He would have been one of the players, maybe not up with Sato and Dixon, but he was really in the mix, and he's shown us that he's incredibly brave. He's on a slightly different strategy. He stopped 5 laps earlier than Pato O'Ward, the race leader. But guys, he's come from 18th to 3rd. This is a great drive.
He's definitely found something since the month of Indy 500. He was so consistent, so fast every single day, had a great race. Other than a small mistake coming into the pits, he slid into his crew, and it really cost him a good finish. But Townsend, he's found another gear in himself. He's clicked it up to the next level.
Well, he's surrounded by great people. You saw Brent Harvey, Woody, as he's affectionately known in the paddock. Woody was an engineer of mine way back in 2004. Just a strong, smart mind. And he's figured out that by pitting VK a little earlier, lap 42, he did just the opposite of Sato, and it paid off in the same way Sato was penalized by staying out. It paid off as a reward for VK, up 15 spots since the start. Hinch?
You're exactly right, and just looking at how this all shaked out, it is super fascinating. Takuma tried to do the long run like he did yesterday. A couple guys went with him, Colton Herta, Connor Daly, and I actually listened to radio transmission from Colton Herta saying, hey, we've caught the number 4 of Charlie Kimball. He's holding us back. We need to pit now. They brought him in a few laps, about 6 laps before Sato, and that allowed him to jump Sato. So if you're in dirty air, if you're in traffic, that overcut is just not going to work. But we saw Rinus VK really come in on the early side and make huge gains, up 15 spots from where he started. So guys, I think you're going to see a lot of people start to dumpster dive and come in a lot earlier in this next window.
Lee, there really is a big time changing of the guard happening right now in IndyCar. You look at this leaderboard, and there's like Newgarden, Dixon, Sato are the only older vets in the top 10. The rest are all young guys in their 20s, and this sport is changing in front of our eyes right now.
It is, but it's changing in a good way, right?
Yeah.
And it has to. There's the ebbs and flows of generations within any sport, and I think it's what an honor for these kids, for this youth movement in IndyCar, to be around to drive with the Tony Kanans, the Scott Dixons, the Will Powers, the Takuma Satos. It's a really special time.
Well, I'll be a spokesperson for the 40-year-olds because we're only at lap 78. So let experience fully play out. We'll see where we end up after 200 laps. But let's just ride here and listen to the finesse and the feathering of the throttle from Pato O'Ward.
Sounds like he's saving a little bit of fuel, Townsend, backing out of it early. lapped car there in front of him. So that's the thing. Yesterday,
back to power.
I feel that Dixon won this race yesterday by saving a little bit more fuel than him and beating him on that last stop with a shorter stop. So I think he learned from that yesterday.
I'm impressed with how smooth the input is from Pato O'Ward. Listen to him breathe out right here, nice and easy, saving fuel. Listen to how he picks up the throttle. You can barely even tell when his right foot is cracking the throttle. It's not a whomp or a stomp, if you will, on the loud pedal. It's a gentle, progressive feed of the throttle that really signifies, in my opinion, he's got a great handling race car, and that young driver knows how to take care of his tires in this critical phase of the stint.
And also, just at a lazy 185 miles an hour, he's driving one-handed while trying to adjust his drink tube on the front of his helmet. He had to do that a couple of times. There's the managing director of Arrow McLaren SP. That's Taylor Kyle, who calls the strategy as well. I want to say hi to Sam Schmidt, Rick Peterson, co-team owner, Zach Brown of McLaren, who was busy, of course, at Spa-Francorchamps this weekend. In Formula One, it's looking good for Arrow McLaren SP and Pato O'Ward, but we're not quite halfway just yet. And just like that, we are fast approaching the halfway mark as we welcome you back to the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Lee Diffie, Paul Tracy, Townsend Bell with you. James Hinchcliffe and Kevin Lee working pit road. Hey, Kevo, you ready to go through the field? Brought to you by Guaranteed Rate. Kick it off.
Let's do it. Pato O'Ward knocking on the door for at least the fourth time this year for his first win. You documented his in and out laps. The champ, Scott Dixon, has also noticed that. He told me this morning, this guy is super aggressive getting on the pit lane, and that's often been the difference. We've talked, as we see Will Power running in second, about bad luck for a lot of people in the paddock, like Ryan Hunter-Reay, like Alexander Rossi. Well, you can count up 6 races this year with better luck, like an untimely caution or a pit stop mistake where Power might have been able to win the race. Hinch.
I spoke to the engineer for Arenas VK, Matt Barr, and said, what's he saying on the radio? The answer is nothing. He says this kid's just so happy with his car right now. He's just happy to be driving an Indycar, and it is really showing because he is doing an incredible job in that Sonax machine. Kev?
Joseph Newgarden had the best of the Penske cars yesterday. All 3 migrated in his direction to try to learn something for today. He's been able to stay up front in that Hitachi Chevrolet, running in 4th. And on the same fuel strategy as those in front of him. And then there's Scott Dixon, yesterday's winner. Despite how strong he was yesterday, Dixon told me we still made a little bit of changes, trying to tweak it, trying to make it a little bit better. Knew it was going to be tougher sledding, starting in 6th. Right now, Scott Dixon is running in 5th with a massive championship lead. Hinch.
In his rookie season, Colton Herta was sort of feast or famine, but talking to the team now, they said this is a much more experienced, much more mature driver, and we're really seeing that. He hasn't had that first podium yet this year. In fact, his only 2 podiums have been wins. He's really desperate to get back on there, but these consistent finishes and these grown-up runs are really helping him in a solid championship position.
So we got some takers on pit road and multiple. There's Alex Palou of Dale Coyne with Team Go in the 55. He's joined by Marcus Ericsson, Connor Daly, Ryan Hunter-Reay. Who else is there? Felix Rosenquist has also come in the Monster Energy entry. There he is right there and leaving ahead of his teammate. Daly, Sue Ericsson all slot back out ahead of Ryan Hunter-Reay. Just shy of the halfway mark.
Yeah, and we just passed 94 laps, and that will give O'Ward 200 laps led since Elkhart Lake leading their Road America. So this kid, Townsend, has led 200 laps this season now.
Will Power starting to show some aggression here. Has a run on O'Ward up the back straightaway, but nowhere to go right now as O'Ward still trying to figure out how to get by Tony Kanaan. Tony Kanaan still on the lead lap. Last car on the lead lap right now, and here comes the call for O'Ward to pit lane.
He's coming in, so it'll be interesting to see if Power follows him or tries to do one more lap and try to get a quick lap in. Hinch.
He had a huge lockup coming to the PLC. On the marks, he was okay, and the crew itself was okay. Speedway gas in, Firestone tires on, but hopefully he does not get a speeding penalty for that big lockup coming down to the pit lane speed limit.
Boy, you can see how much O'Ward hustles on the apron, squirrely, hanging on. knife's edge handling for O'Ward. Let's see how he does coming to the box.
And not only do you have to get on the pit lane as quickly as possible, you've got to hit your marks. It's not just simply what the pit stop and the crew guys do. Do you hit your marks exactly? I think he did this time. Let's watch the Arrow McLaren guys. They get a tear off from the Arrow screen. No changes, back out, and let's see where he will mix in.
He hustles out really hard. He yesterday was like sideways coming out of the pit lane here, getting up to speed. We'll see what happens with...
Well, Rinus VeeKay is coming up the front straight. It's got VeeKay within 1 lap of O'Ward, where it was 5 laps before.
Will Power should be coming in this next lap. Pato O'Ward slots out right behind Santino Ferrucci, so he's got to get some good laps in here, and here he comes.
Power is in the Verizon Chevrolet for Team Penske, running second. Took over the lead when O'Ward pitted. Now his teammate Joseph Newgarden goes to the lead, Kev.
And this will give us a really good look at in and out laps and how quick the stops are, because Pato O'Ward was just barely ahead on the track and he's already made his stops. Also a tear off for Will Power. No changes. He likes the car. He's away. Scott Dixon is also in. Power is going to beat him off pit road. Dixon looks like they make a little bit of a throttling adjustment. And where does Power come out in relation to O'Ward?
O'Ward's going into turn 1. It's going to be tight here.
I think he's got him.
Yeah, he has.
Yep.
Pato's going to
hang on. O'Ward's got a big ton of speed coming down the back straightaway. Can he do anything with that speed?
He's got to really time this corner and get the power down right now and get the draft. And here he comes. Does he have enough?
Pato O'Ward on Will Power. I think Power may hang tough unless Pato goes the high line here. Power's got it. He's got up to speed very effectively.
So running 1 lap further was a benefit. It didn't help Sato running all those extra laps, but that 1 lap and a little bit of clear traffic. And look at VeeKay now putting the pressure on Pato O'Ward.
And these early stops for Ed Carpenter Racing and Rinus VeeKay are paying off. He stopped 5 laps prior to O'Ward, the race leader for some 36 laps. He stopped just 1 lap different now on this cycle, and it's got him up there in the mix with not only O'Ward but Power. Great work from the Sonax number 21 team.
Well, we got a bunch of guys yet that are still out there running. Newgarden on track, Sato, Herta, and Andretti, but Newgarden is hitting the pits, Inch.
Reigning champion is coming down. We've talked about it, guys. This has traditionally been a Penske track. They've been on pole. They've won races here since we've come back. This is going to be a very important stop for Joseph. Kev.
And he stays out a little bit later than his teammates. Tim Cindric, the president of Team Penske, counts them in right on the marks. They're going to do the Arrow screen tear off. You'll watch him slide all the way. They've just got 1 big attachment. He just does 1 pull to get both sides off, and that's a solid stop for Joseph Newgarden.
Power, O'Ward, and VeeKay are across the start-finish line right now. This is going to be tight, but I think those 3 will have the measure of Newgarden. Certainly his teammate will easily.
Yeah, I think he's going to come out right in between VeeKay. So Pato now putting the pressure back on Will Powers. Will Powers hung up with that lapped car of Kimball.
Let's not lose sight of the fact that those pit calls for Rinus VeeKay got him from 18th to 3rd, and then he's now fighting with these guys at the front of this pack.
That's not a lapped car of Kimball. Kimball's yet to pit, so he's a legitimate 4th right now, but yet to pit.
But not that quick, and that helps Takuma Sato, who went long on the first stretch, but Sato needs these laps to be really quick right now to make up the gap. You can hear him coaching him. Keep pushing.
26.0 on that last lap, 26.2 on this lap, Herta 26.2, so these guys are putting down some pretty good laps on these old tires. But with these guys hung up,
Power's doing laps at 26.4 right now, stuck behind Kimball, so 2/10 quicker for Sato. He was about 4 or 5 seconds behind before the pit stop started, so these lap times super important for Sato running in clean air.
You see Sato just up in front of this group. That's not how close it is. He's a full lap ahead of these guys, so he's going to pit here at any moment, and will he cycle back out in front of these guys?
Power's last lap 26.5, Sato 26.0, so that's a half a second to the good for Sato. He's probably best served to stay out as long as he can right now, as long as the pace is faster than Power.
little further back, that Gallagher Chevrolet had a good call with Connor Daly. He was able to clear some of the competitors he was fighting with, and now he's up there. He's able to leapfrog Rosenquist and Ericsson, and he is right there behind Scott Dixon in 10th position. So keeping an eye on Sato. He's going to do another circuit.
He's got some traffic now, so he's got to peel off. He can't afford to waste any more time. That lap at 26.2. Power was a 26.3, so it's stabilized, and here he comes.
Sato the pit lane. Colton Herta stays out. Colton Herta in the same situation as Sato, so now Colton Herta has clean air. Sato will peel in, hopefully have a better stop than last time.
Didn't look as quick as Pato O'Ward through that warm-up lane. We'll see what the overall time is, but we'll see where this all cycles out, Kevin.
Derek Davidson talking him in. Had to ask him 3 different times, do you want any changes? As Mike was getting cut off, no changes. 59 laps in the first stint, 50 this time around for the number 30, Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan Racing Honda. Keeping an eye on Will Power. Solid stop for the RL guys. Now, where is he going to mix in with Will Power?
Power's going to be easily ahead. So too is O'Ward. So too is Newgarden. So too is VK.
It was a good pit stop, Townsend, but it just didn't look super fast through the warm-up lane.
The issue really started on the first stint as Sato exits now. Scott Dixon's probably going to have a chance on Takuma Sato. These were the two that battled. Dixon in that orange and blue car as Veach goes by. But really, I think the bed was made for Sato by staying long on that first stop, caught in traffic. And that's what really benefited O'Ward and Power and everybody else that jumped it in the cycle.
Well, Herta, Andretti, Kimball stay out. Last lap for Herta, 26.0. We'll see if he can get ahead of Sato on this pit stop exchange. If it works for him, he's now caught the back of Askew. So now he's going to pit now that he's in the turbulent air.
Capstone Turbine Honda of Andretti, Harding, Steinbrenner, Autosport. Colton Herta, all bar those opening laps when he was involved in some skirmishes, is kind of having a similar race to yesterday. Doing his own thing, meeting his fuel number, staying out of trouble, heads-up drive from the youngster.
Look at how dirty the apron is, too. Still dust flying everywhere from the oil dry earlier. Hinchy's coming to you. Let's see what the 88 has on pit lane.
He tried to go a few laps shorter than Takuma Sato on the last stint. It helped him get in front. We'll see what he's going to do this time, going a little bit longer, taking advantage of that clean air. Like you guys said, clean on the marks. 4 Firestones going on. Tear-up coming off. Small hiccup on the left front. We're waiting on fuel anyway. That was a pretty clean stop. Now let's see if that gets him out. High fives all around here in the 88.
Yeah, this is looking good. This is looking really good because Power's only coming out of 4. This could be close. It could slot him into 3rd place, maybe ahead of Newgarden. We'll see.
Newgarden's going to go by, but he's got a big gap to those other cars, so he's jumped about 3 or 4 cars.
All right, Dick, you got a big gap right there. All
where
clear,
Sato filed out.
Here comes Sato off turn 2, stuck behind Zach Veach. Sato followed by Dixon, so Colton Herta performs the overcut really well, stays out, had the quicker laps. Sato, meanwhile, just trapped behind Veach, who's 2 laps down.
I'm telling you, if the pit stop is clean, it's all about Townsend and Hinch, how fast you are on that in lane, on the in lap. You can make so much time coming in.
And we forgot to say that we're already into the second half of the Bommarito Automotive Group 500, day 2, leg 2, on a double header weekend in the NTT IndyCar Series. Back in a moment. NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar is brought to you by Guaranteed Rate. Mortgage rates are historically low. Save money at rate.com today. Liberty Mutual Insurance. Only pay for what you need. Land Rover, above and beyond. And by Bommarito.com. Open 24/7. And again, thanks to John Bommarito and the entire group and family for their continued support of this event and of IndyCar. As we are working lap 123 of 200 laps, 250 miles. Want to give a shout out to Hendrick Motorsports driver William Byron, who won his first NASCAR Cup Series race last night in the most tense of situations at Daytona International Speedway to make the playoffs. And that first Cup win will be a memorable one. Speaking of young American talent. We also want to congratulate not only Colton Herta on a nice stop, another open wheel driver in 19-year-old Floridian Logan Sargent, who's competing in the FIA F3 Championship. Today, he won in Spa. He won for the second time this season, and he leads the F3 Championship. This young man is fast-tracking it to Formula One. We wish him well, and keep an eye on him, and remember that name. He is doing great things.
So guys, just listening to some of the radio transmissions from Colton Herta, and they're talking about the huge fuel advantage that they now have. Throughout those first 2 cycles, we saw the undercuts hitting on the early side of the window work. We saw the overcut hitting on the later side of the window work. But Johnson, as you like to say, if you're doing the undercut, at some point you got to pay the piper, and you're going to have that long stint at some time. If Colton can keep this trend up, stay in clean air when he's doing that overcut, and have that fuel advantage at the end, it's going to mean a shorter stop in that final one. That was part of what helped Takuma Sato yesterday. So this could be shaping up very nicely for that first podium of the year for the 88 guys.
It's all going to come down to how fast can the 88 guys change 4 tires, because you'll be able to send the car on tires rather than wait the extra second or 2 for a full tank of fuel, because Colton Herta will probably only need about 35 laps of fuel to go to the end, versus some of these other cars that'll need 50 to 55 laps of fuel.
Got a little bit of radio for Power here. See what he has to say about what's going on with his car.
We're going to catch a big train. You want me to look out for the tire?
Yeah, copy that. We're good on pace. Just look after your tires.
I'm catching a big train. Would you like me to look after my tires? And the answer is yes, please. Guys, while you're talking about who's good on fuel, let's not forget about Joseph Newgarden sitting in there at 102. He stopped later than the others, in better shape fuel-wise as well. They won't take as long on the subsequent stops, with 73 laps to go. Determined to get his second win of the season and try and do something about this Dixon domination of the 2020 championship.
Paul, when have you ever heard a strategist say, no, don't look after your tires, burn them up?
Yeah, I don't know about that call, but I mean, I got to give a shout out to VK. He's looking really good right now. He's come up from the back of the field and is legitimate right there, sniffing at a podium here.
From 18th on the grid. That's worth mentioning, and that exhilarating sequence in the opening laps where he went right around the outside. Bravery to the max, and here he is putting pressure on a 2-time and defending NTT IndyCar Series champion. This kid, who got off to the most inauspicious start at Texas Motor Speedway, crashed in practice, crashed in the race, and to be fair, people thought he may have been in over his head. He got some harsh words from his teammate and team owner, Ed Carpenter, but boy, has he redeemed himself ever since.
It's been a remarkable turnaround, and Paul, you just never know what you're going to get with a rookie in IndyCar on the ovals. For a lot of the top drivers now, I looked at guys like Pagano or Will Power, Indy 500 winners. It took them several years to reach this level of comfort, and VK just, it's connected like hand in glove for him. He just seems right at home in every situation on ovals.
Like myself, I had Rick Mears coaching me when I was a young guy, and he's got one of the best guys in the business in Ari Leyendijk Sr. coaching him and helping him. But we got problems here for Ericsson. Back wing is loose, it's moving around, I can see. So something wrong with the back wing posts, and you don't want to drive with it like that.
It's got to be terrifying for Marcus Ericsson to have a rear wing that produces all of the stability on the back of the car at high speeds, and that thing's just completely loosened itself up. It looks like the entire attenuator piece.
Yeah, the wing doesn't really, it's bolted to that carbon fiber attenuator, and then the attenuator is completely bolted to the back of the gearbox.
There's quick releases so that they can change rear wings if they need to, but now it looks like there's a gearbox issue or maybe something else.
Marcus was 10th at the time of coming to pit road, so that hurts him, Kev, big time.
I'm seeing what you guys are seeing right now. It obviously was way before the window, so we knew that there was something wrong. But the Chip Ganassi racing team is still trying to diagnose the issue. But how unfortunate. Marcus Ericsson was having a strong run to get in the top 10 again, and it's not going to happen.
So the NTT IndyCar Series technical director Kevin Blanche there, right on the spot, keeping an eye on what's going on.
Shut it off, Mark.
Yeah, I'm surprised they let that run for that long, because that's at some point tells you can overheat.
Well, not only that, you got the mechanics with their hands in there with the half shafts and you know, the risk of kicking it into gear would be alarming with all the guys working on the back end of the car as they continue to try to figure out what's wrong. Back up front with VK running 4th. There's Colton Herta in 5th. And let's talk a little bit about Graham Rahal, who had such an amazingly strong run at Indianapolis a week ago. And I've just been watching kind of the vibration of his helmet, Paul. A lot of drivers have complained about picking up tire vibrations. You just watch him here in 3 and 4, just kind of see the hands shaking a little bit, the helmet. Maybe not as bad as on this stint. There you see it bob a little bit. That's an unusual amount of buffeting. I'm not sure if that's aero or mechanical vibration.
Yeah, he's had a rough weekend. Handling was bad in both qualifying runs. Like he could today started dead last, and it really hasn't really fixed itself comparing to his teammate who's been very quick this weekend.
And that's what surprises everyone, but Graham was telling me we just don't like the same kind of car. Takuma can drive it much looser. Every driver has their own feel. And he went in with very realistic expectations. He said, we just are going to use this as a test session. We didn't learn anything yesterday because of the mechanical issues, so we want to make sure we're ready when we come back here next year. He really honestly didn't have much of a chance, he thought, to compete today, so he's already trying to learn for this event next year.
Folks, this sport, this series, is not only entertainment driven and spectacle driven, it's personality driven. And one of the biggest and best personalities in the sport for more than 2 decades has been this 45-year-old Brazilian, Tony Kanaan. Quite often, more often than not, the most popular driver in the series. This could very well be TK's final IndyCar race. He's in that Big Machine Vodka Chevrolet. The father of 4, his lovely wife Lauren watching on. This is a very emotional day. He's received so many congratulatory notes and messages and calls and well-wishing for this weekend. Keep in mind, he's a 2004 champion, 2013 Indy 500 winner. He is the Iron Man of the sport with 318 consecutive starts. That run was broken. Paul, you raced against TK for a long time. You're good mates. I'm going to ask you and Townsend the same thing. Finish the sentence. Tony Kanaan is...
Well, he's a champion. He's a 2003 champion, and this, I don't believe this is going to be his last race. He wants to come back. This has not been a fair year for him with the COVID pandemic. He wanted this last ride to be with the fans and have an opportunity to interact with the fans, and he's really been robbed of that to end his career, and he wants to come back next year and put together an Indy 500 deal with the fans and really have a good finish off.
Townsend, Tony Kanaan is
lying. There's no way this is his last IndyCar race. This guy loves this sport more than anybody. He is the most popular driver at the Indy 500. He will not go out like this, I can promise you. Wonder if his wife might have something to say about that as we see Lauren Kanaan looking on, very calm and focused. Probably trying to help figure out how she might get her husband back on the lead lap from the pit stand.
Tell you what, she's one of his biggest supporters. She's up, if you follow his social media, she's up every morning with him at 4 in the morning, working out. She's on the treadmill, he's on the bike, and they are serious about the racing.
So checked in with Mike O'Gara on the number 8 Ganassi stand. It wasn't anything internal in the rear of the car. He was reporting it being severely loose, and it was as if the rear wing was loose a little bit, so they stabilized that, but unfortunately Marcus Ericsson is down 11 laps. He just went back out.
Pato O'Ward now is all over the back of Will Power. He's got his teammate there just in front of Will Power, so the gap now is down to a couple tenths of a second as Newgarden has now closed in, as Harvey leaves the pits on one of his stops, but things are tightening up front with the lap traffic.
Well, yeah, Harvey can get to the end from there with only 57 laps left in this race. Here is the fight for the lead. Will Power in the Verizon Chevrolet, Pato O'Ward.
Alexander Rossi right there under threat of being lapped. When's the last time you ever said that? Whoa, that car nearly slid out. Palou in the pit, in the warm-up lane there was completely sideways.
Here's the order. Power, O'Ward, Newgarden, VK. And then Colton Herter is not that far behind either. Top 5. And then Takuma Sato, Scott Dixon, yesterday's duo that dueled it out to the end. Then Daly in a good position. Rosenquist and Ferrucci round out the 10.
There goes Marco and Rossi gambling on the early pit here. See if they can get out in clean air and get themselves further up the field.
Just spread out a little bit more now. Power is gapped Pato a little bit as Palou comes out with Askew behind him. I think Pato yesterday learned a lot by what Dixon did, Townsend, by just sitting there and saving some fuel and waiting it out. This is kind of exactly what Dixon did yesterday to Pato. He just kind of waited for the last stop because we're coming up to it pretty soon.
And I'm so excited to see what Pato Award does on his in-lap and out-lap. We saw it earlier. Nobody quicker on the first exchange. Pato just absolutely wheeling the thing, sliding the car at both ends of the track, and he'll be up against some of the best in the business with Power and Newgarden. Don't count out Scott Dixon, who's also on pit lane right now.
Yeah, Pato Award said yesterday after the race was over, man, I got to figure out how these guys step it up another level at the end of the race, Kevin. It looks like he's trying to figure that out.
So we're within the final window, easily being able to make it home. They all could have gone longer this, and all these cars that are stopping here are in peril of being caught out by a caution, but they weren't leading the race at this point. For Scott Dixon trying to sweep the weekend, it's going to take a lot of work to be able to get that done. So makes sense here to try something different from the others, right, Townsend?
Well, for Scott Dixon, I like this move. Scott Dixon's going to come out in perfectly clean air, all by himself. Sato coming in way earlier than he needs to. That's because he was running in traffic. They try to make a wing change there, which costs probably a precious few tenths of a second. But for Scott Dixon, watch for super fast lap times out of the number 9.
And Connor Daly is shadowing Dixon as well in that Gallagher Chevrolet. Sato's released and sent. Here comes Santino Ferrucci from inside the top 10 in the Sealmaster Honda.
Hits his marks a little bit short. Yesterday's final stop had a mistake on it. This one so far looks clean. Another mistake on pit.
Oh my gosh.
The last stop again is a bad one.
And they actually spent time this morning working on pit stops because of that issue yesterday. They weren't in position to win this race, but still running solidly in the top 10. It cost them a few more spots. And Pato Award, running second, is in for his final stop. Will Power has stayed out, still needs one more stop, maintaining the lead. 50 miles per hour Award coming down. Joseph Newgarden also, we should see him coming in behind as well. Award, though, hits his pit stop first. Rinus VeeKay has come in from the top 5 and is leaving. The Arrow McLaren team has been solid. Looks like a pretty good stop this time around for Pato Award. So we will wait for Will Power to make his final stop. Newgarden is going to race him out and trying to find that spot. Who's going to win that race, Diff?
He will win it. Newgarden wins it.
On the warm-up lane. Pato's not giving up on the outside here, trying to make it happen. But Will Power got held up by Ed Carpenter on the warm-up lane. And this is the battle right now, I think, for the lead, because I think Will Power got held up.
Award had to relinquish that spot there, and now Power is released.
This is going to be super tight. They just came off turn 4. Will Power was held up in the warm-up line behind Ed Carpenter, and here they come, and they sweep by Will Power around. He goes from first to third.
Here comes Askew as well.
Clear up now.
Who's stuck behind, but I wonder if Askew can get in front of Power and give a little buffer to Award. Award back up front, but that was so dicey. Let's take a look again at Will Power stop.
He came in right here and got bottled up with traffic and then followed Ed Carpenter into the pit lane, and Ed was just not as fast as what it's going to take to win this race, and he just got stuck there all the way around the pit lane. And then we watch the pit stop here of Pato Award. He drag races Newgarden at the end of the pit lane, and they race side by side on the warm-up lane out onto the track.
Let's not forget that the Hitachi squad of the number 1 car, Joseph Newgarden had multiple laps advantage on the other players as far as his last stop. He could have had a shorter fill fuel-wise, and that allowed him to get ahead of not only Pato Award, but his teammate Will Power. VeeKay there sweeping around the Gainbridge Honda of Zach Veach, arguing over some real estate because Veach needed to get in.
Comers and goers, people on different strategies, pitting at different time, but here comes Herta. He's gone a little bit longer. He's in the lead right now as he pits.
Pitting from the lead on that little bit of a longer run. Like we said, he had that fuel advantage. He's not going to need a full fill here. So like you said, on tires, the fuel's done. Oh, a little bit of a hold up there. A little bit of tires not in front of him, but
he's going to go to the lead.
Let's see where he goes.
He's going to go to the lead.
Super fast stop from the 88 guys. Let's watch Colton Herta on the front straightaway.
It's going to be tight.
He's going to go
Where's
to the
Newgarden?
lead.
He's going to go into third probably, though.
I don't know if he'll be able to hold on to third.
Good stop, though, from the Andretti Hardig-Steinbrenner team. Here comes Power.
He's going to go into fourth. He's going to beat VK on that exchange. As Askew on hot tires, he's a lap down, so I would let him go.
Askew lets Colton Herta go. Really strong stop from the 88. As James mentioned, he did not need full fuel to go the final 43 laps.
So Joseph Newgarden is at the top of this order, less than half a second ahead of Pato Award. There they are, two Chevrolet-powered cars, one from Team Penske, this one from Arrow McLaren SP, a two-time series champion up against a second-year driver in Award. There's a healthy gap back of some 2.5+ seconds to this man, Will Power.
And Will Power is irate on the radio after that stop, challenging his team on the strategy. Didn't you know that we were going to be stuck in traffic? What are we thinking here? And much more pointed words that I cannot repeat.
I feel his pain. I saw all of that set up with the traffic and cars coming in and out of the pits, but he's got to keep fighting.
And he's going to have Colton Herta with him any moment now, fighting over that final step on the podium. Does Pato Award have anything for Joseph Newgarden for that elusive first IndyCar win? Twice he's been on the podium this year, the young Mexican. Now he's challenging the champ for victory. Were you watching that in non-stop? Oh boy, Colton Herta had his hands full in that capstone turbine Honda. Rinus VeeKay comes by, they clipped.
Well, it all started in turns 1 and 2. He ran into the corner real hard, got loose, got up in the gray, and was hanging on through 1 and 2. Then he had a drag race with VK Townsend down the back straight, tried to hang tough on the inside. They touched, and he got up in the dirty stuff again and in that oil dry, and barely kept it off the wall.
Talking about kicking a guy when he's down. The guy saves it all the way through 3 and 4, and then there's just like 40 pounds of oil dry still high from the pre-race oil issue. And Colton Herta, what a job to hang on, and he's still 6th, James, after all of that.
Yeah, that's the most impressive part about it. That was 2 big moments in 2 consecutive corners, and he got on the radio very willpower about Rinus VeeKay, if you catch my drift. Lots of very angry words coming out of him. There's no written rule about what VeeKay did, but there's a gentleman's agreement, guys. That was not a very kosher move. We saw a rookie last year, Santino Ferrucci, get some talking to by a veteran of Joseph Newgarden. I guarantee you these two are going to have words after this race.
Paul, when you were a rookie, you had all kinds of veterans giving you lots of advice, most of it colorful. How do you deal with a situation like that if you're VeeKay?
It's a whole different world now. Guys go to Twitter and social media. Back in the day, Mario took you behind the trailer and you got an earful.
Remember Al Jr. coming off to you too, but for Rinus VeeKay, he knows that the groove is super narrow, and I've got to point out that, you know, Colton did make a mistake coming off of turn 2 that led to VeeKay getting a run. Colton probably had all kinds of dirt and clag on the tires as he went down to turn 3, so very difficult to try to keep that really tight distance separated between himself and VeeKay as they fired it off into 3. But luckily, both guys continue on.
Tell you what, right now as it sits, Newgarden has clawed his way back in the championship. He was 117 behind after yesterday, but he's got it back down under 100 to 96. And this, guys, has been a very average day for Dixon, as he's just kind of not really done much today. Kind of a point state today. Started 6th, running 5th, so really not a lot of movement up or down. He's just kind of been stuck.
Yeah, but a huge day, though, for Newgarden. He knew that he had to win today if he was going to slow down and reverse the trend of Scott Dixon. So Newgarden clawing back 20 points if he can hang on with 29 laps to go.
That's a huge day. Huge day.
You're riding with Pato Award, who has been tremendous today. Led 36 laps, been running at the front, and he's been mixing it up with the likes of Will Power and Joseph Newgarden, Takuma Sato. It has been a super positive day for this guy, who his best result in an Indy Lights car wasn't a win, it was a third here. He finished third in his first IndyCar race here yesterday. He's running one position better today.
And I think it's hats off to the team. These guys now are legitimately fighting with Team Penske and Ganassi Racing.
Yep.
So that's a big hats off to that team as well.
I get a feeling, though, that Pato O'Ward is tired already of second places, and I think there's going to be something to sort out here with 27 to go. I think it's going to be interesting, though, that Newgarden is going to have to contend with lap traffic, and the first car, luckily for him up ahead, is his teammate Simon Pagenaud, the last car on the lead lap in that 22 Menards car that you see up in there in the distance. And then there's Rossi, and Rossi, I don't think Rossi could care less about Newgarden or Pato O'Ward. Rossi's going to fight really hard to the end.
And it's been a super quiet day for Alexander Rossi. He's in 14th position. At least he got to the start of today's race. He was steaming hot mad yesterday.
Here, 2.5, 3 back.
Yeah, these guys, Rossi, Pagenaud, they really haven't really done much of anything compared to where they started. And you know, the saying will be, well, it was too hard to pass. But you look at guys like VK came from the back of the field, and he's running up front. So you can pass if you want to get aggressive.
Well, ironically, it was VK's monster move on the start that looked very much like something Alexander Rossi would have done in the last couple years. That's what put VK in a position, and then really smart strategy from his timing stand to pit him early and get him out in clean traffic for faster lap times.
24 laps to go. Joseph Newgarden, Pato O'Ward, Will Power, the top three. VK, Dixon, Herta, Sato, and then the Gallagher Chevrolet of Connor Daly, who has made up 7 positions from his starting spot. This is his final drive in Gallagher colours this season. He'll be back to Ed Carpenter Racing because Max Chilton, the British driver, the former F1 driver, will be back behind the wheel of his familiar 59 for the remaining road course races of the season. Connor goes back to the US Air Force entry for Ed Carpenter Racing. He's really enjoyed his time with the Carlin team and done good work, and he keeps his string alive if he hangs in here for these final 23 laps of never finishing outside the top 10 at Worldwide Technology Raceway. He loves this place, loves coming through the field. This is his turn, by the way, turn 3. He has pulled off some mega moves right there. Today, a little bit of a quieter day, but still very productive.
Rosenquist inside the top 10 in the monster car. Ferrucci, after that bad pit stop again on the last one, had dropped back a little bit just inside the top 10, holding off. Hunter Ray is all over the back of him.
All right, let's answer this question, fellas. Does O'Ward have anything for the champion Newgarden? Or is it going to stay at this constant half a second thing? Is lap traffic going to come into play?
Newgarden gets into the lead at this stage of a race. I mean, I'm not saying it's over by any means with all those lap cars, Townsend, but Newgarden, like Dixon, is very good at managing the gap and the traffic when he's in the lead.
Yeah, one of the things you can do if you're Joseph Newgarden right now is actually breathe the throttle a little bit on the straights to gap yourself to Pagenaud and work your tires a little harder in the corners here just to force, almost like tempt O'Ward to get close so that when you get to the corner, O'Ward has more turbulent air and burns his tires off a little quicker. So it's a cat and mouse game. What O'Ward really needs is Pagenaud and Rossi to struggle a little more than they are right now, because the lap times from Pagenaud and Rossi, frankly, pretty darn good. 26.5 for Pagenaud, 26.6 for Rossi. That's sort of the pace that Newgarden's been running anyway. So I think Newgarden has studied what Scott Dixon did yesterday and is just working that bubble of air, managing the gap to O'Ward, and tempting the young Mexican driver to push hard in the corners and use up his tires, because if O'Ward uses it up, he won't have anything left at the end. 2 Penske cars in the top 3, and you just saw Tim Cindric, the Team Penske president, there on the pit box. There's Tim calling the strategy. He's got an interesting couple of months coming up because his son Austin is in the NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs. He'll be competing for a championship, and really unfamiliar times for Tim, because this year has been unlike any other ever since he's been with Team Penske.
he hasn't had the captain, Roger Penske, standing on one of the other pit boxes where they could bounce things off each other on the team radio, especially at the Indianapolis 500. I mean, that's probably the first time in some, what, 50 years that Roger Penske hasn't been on a pit box at the Indianapolis 500 because of his new role as the owner of this series and the owner of the Speedway. Roger now no longer wears a Team Penske shirt at the racetrack. It's an NTT IndyCar Series shirt that he wears, and he has a very different cap. Oh, look at that youthful picture on the top there of Paul Tracy, 1997.
That's a good one right there, but Pato O'Ward is now closing down the gap, and there's a lot of traffic in front now.
So, the two-time NTT Series champion in IndyCar, Joseph Newgarden's got some memorable moments here, up against teammate Simon Pagenaud in a forceful move to get the win. Look how different the cars look. That's only 3 years ago. To win the Bommarito Automotive Group 500, that was a big moment.
And there was some harsh words after that race between teammates. But right now, this race is far from over, I believe, because there's a long line of cars in front of Joseph Newgarden, and Joseph's got to be careful that he doesn't burn his own tires off.
Well, what's happening now, Paul, is that even though Pagenaud and Rossi up ahead of Newgarden are the last cars on the lead lap, those two cars of Pagenaud and Rossi are catching lap cars like Tony Kanaan and Charlie Kimball, who are circulating slower. So now the times are dropping, and that is going to give O'Ward, I think, an opportunity to make a run as things stack up here.
Graham Rahal right there behind Pato O'Ward, not a factor. It's a pretty big gap from O'Ward back to Power. Power really hasn't been able to respond since losing those positions.
2.7 seconds, Paul, is the gap from O'Ward to Power. So he's got plenty of breathing room there, James.
You know, it's interesting. I'm looking at the lap leaders as Joseph Newgarden circles in the lead. And coming into today's race, guys, the top three in points, Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, and Pato O'Ward had led over 2/3 of the laps on this season. And with both Pato and Joseph spending time out front, that number has only grown. So these three guys really standing out as the real championship contenders.
Consistency is the key. Scott Dixon and Joseph Newgarden are the only two drivers in the series this year to have completed every single lap. Who's next best on that chart? Young Pato O'Ward. There he is.
Keeping the pressure on. That's all he can really do right now is keep the pressure high and hope that Newgarden makes a mistake or pushes him up towards the back of his teammate. He's right there. Just needs a little bobble to make something happen.
Does he go for the win? Does he really go for it if he can? Or does he think, my goodness, I'm third in this championship? Do I think about the bigger picture? Do I think about my team? I know how desperately he wants the win. He tells us all the time when he gets close, it's like, ugh, not again.
I think O'Ward's just trying to sit here and study and come up with creative ideas for how he could get closer to Newgarden. The track really single groove at this point. You can see him kind of backing off early here in one, trying to see if he can get low right here, get his left sides down on that white line, grab a little bit of clean air on the left front wing and see if he can make a run. But I think he's just trying to patiently wait to see if anything happens up ahead of Newgarden and he checks up.
You know what I think this speaks beautifully to, fellas, and you're both products of it. Wasn't called that back when you were in it, but the road to Indy, the junior formula and the steps, those tangible steps, going through those categories to get to IndyCar. And these two we're watching here, Joseph Newgarden and Pato O'Ward, are students of that and products of that. And if you complete each and every step along that way of that road to Indy, it delivers you to IndyCar, ready to race at a top level like Pato O'Ward and Joseph Newgarden, of course, the two-time champ. Here they are, both Indy Lights champions.
Townsend and I are both graduates of Indy Lights and champions, and it is critical to learn these tracks in fast race cars, because when you come from Europe or don't do oval racing, it's a big step, Townsend, and Indy Lights is a critical step if you want to be successful in Indy cars.
No question about it. You learn not only the tracks, but you learn the dynamics of racecraft and how to deal with situations just like this. Pato O'Ward, whoa, that might might help Pato Award.
This might help out a little bit. These guys make contact in turn one. Pagano way up high, leaves the door open, but that could have been disastrous for those guys.
Well, and really big break for Pato Award, because if Pagano could have put himself between Newgarden and Award, that would have really helped Newgarden with some breathing room. Now Newgarden has to turn up the wick a bit, because Pato catching back up after that moment between Rossi and Pagano. There's more action in turn one.
Power on Andretti, goes past his teammate as well. He's not past Marco just yet. Chops the front off. Will Power there. He has to catch it.
Now VK's got to run. He's going to challenge for third place here. He's super aggressive. Going to thread the needle.
Here we go.
Whoa, that was wild.
And VK had to just tone it back there a little bit, tuck it back in.
All the while, here comes Colton Hurd on Scott Dixon.
Dixon's good. Moves over.
That's Askew.
To get by Askew, but he can't get down the inside as Herta looks on the outside. All this lap traffic coming into play with 4 to go.
Oh, Sato's in the wall.
We might have a shootout here.
You bet. Caution. Only 4 laps to go, though.
Well, hopefully they can get this. There's no reason to stop here. They can have a shootout to the end.
Got to get the pace car out and get them stacked up.
And Tim Cindric says, oh boy. Taylor Kyle from Arrow McLaren SP says, yes, it gives my guy a shot at the champion.
It's a perfect opportunity right now to stop these guys and red flag it if they could.
Well, but I don't know that there'd be any debris, so if we can get the safety truck off, it's almost the same situation as Indianapolis.
Well, there's maybe not enough laps left to reset.
Yeah, Sato doesn't want to come in. I don't know if his car's bent, but it is bent because it's crabbing sideways. He wants to finish this thing in his position without losing laps.
So here comes Newgarden across start finish, so that's 2 laps to go. Can they peel him off right here? So there will not be a red flag, we're being told. The question is, can they peel it off with 1 to go and restart?
Well, the question, too, is Sato, who's in 9th right now with a bent car. If they do restart, can he hang on to that and not wreck?
Well, the problem is there's a bunch of cars behind Sato that need to stack up and pack up. There they are, and they can't pack up with Sato out there.
It'll finish under yellow, guys. Not enough time. Second weekend in a row.
Not sure if Pato had anything, but he would have had a shot. But that's, you know, tough way to end the race here. It was getting so exciting. That last 10 laps, there was all kinds of action happening.
Well, and the benefit for Sato to just hang on to that bent car is he sits 9th right now. So those are valuable points to hang on to. And there you see the white flag.
So Joseph Newgarden will win this race, and in just a lap's time he will break this incredible run of a different winner every single time here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. We showed you a highlight earlier of Joseph winning back in 2017. He's going to cruise to his 2nd victory, not only here at this track, but his 2nd win on the 2020 championship, and a massive point swing in his favor, clawing back more than 20 points on Scott Dixon. That's the day.
Pit stop victory today.
Pit stops gave us victory today, says Joseph.
You guys did great. It's been amazing all year in the pit. We got it done again today. Great job.
Joseph Newgarden wins again at Worldwide Technology Raceway. 2nd win for him, 2nd win of the year, and that is a much improved result on yesterday's 12th place finish. And the Team Penske guys at the Hitachi #1 team, they celebrate, and justifiably so. It is dual podiums for Pato O'Ward and Will Power. Frustrated beneath the helmet, but he comes home on the podium as well. This checkered flag moment brought to you by Advanced Auto Parts. The fist pump in the air. Joseph Newgarden, 2-time and defending series champ. He's a winner again, Kevin Lee.
For the 16th time, for the 2nd time this season, including here at this track. Take us through this one today. How did you get it done?
I mean, this was all the pit stop victory right here for me. You know, we got pretty dicey with Will and Pato there on track, but My guys have been amazing in the pits. Just they've put me in position every time, and it was really fun racing Pato out of the pit. That was for the win right there. Was that race? We went side by side out of the pit exit. He did an amazing job. He's really he's going to do great things, I think, in this sport. So good job to him. Thanks to the obviously it's a smaller crowd. We weren't allowed to have as many people here, but thank you to everyone that came out, and I hope you enjoyed your Sunday and hope you enjoyed the race. But like I said, this was all down to my team. Team Chevy did an amazing job. Great to have Hitachi on the car this weekend, and they've been good luck for us. But really proud of my team. They won the race. I didn't win it. They won it.
You can't get back in the championship all in one particular race, but probably safe to say you're not quite ready to give up the one yet until it's mathematically impossible.
Well, we can't give up on it, obviously yet. Like you said, yesterday was a pretty big blow. We've been pretty bitten by bad luck, I think, this year. The yellows have really gone against us, probably 3 or 4 out of the 8 races. So, what are you going to do? Sometimes it comes your way, sometimes it doesn't. I feel like this year they haven't really come our way, but that's racing. You got to hopefully get on a good cycle, and maybe this will be a little Kickstarter for the end of the season for us.
Congratulations. Enjoy it. Joseph Newgarden has won twice here at Worldwide Technology Raceway, and Team Penske has won half of the 12 races. Just moments ago, Newgarden climbing out and celebrating outside St. Louis.